Talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome into the Thursday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody is doing well. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm not great. I slashed my finger really badly on a box of bubbly. And, I mean, it is – I mean, I filled this thing. Sorry, this is gory. I don't want to show you my bloody rag. But you've seen it, Robby.
I have.
I mean, it is – like I can see inside my finger from a cardboard box.
That's not good.
Like I can see – like how do you do that? I mean, it's like a paper cut but like with a chainsaw. Also, I just looked at the text line.
Yeah.
And I saw that yesterday when Jared, quote-unquote, beat me, Mark says, "Hey, tough luck, Joe." Mark from Nashville, he writes in all caps. And Jared wrote, "It wasn't even close."
Jeez. I think Mark's in Jared's head a little bit.
And then I said, quote, "It wasn't even close," says the guy who hasn't actually won a sports debate against someone older than 4 years old in his life. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. I mean, I was a little disappointed in the ruling yesterday. Your winning streak comes to an end in Jared versus Joe, but like you said, Jared had to win at some point, and yesterday was that day for Jared.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Jared, I mean, and I didn't even make any Baskin-Robbins jokes. Oh, real quick on that, I confirmed with Jim Wyatt at the Titans press conference that he absolutely was not making a fat joke.
That's good.
So that's so there's no mercy on Jared on Baskin-Robbins.
Good. Well, that's good too. Michelle, how are you doing?
Doing great. Can't find my headphones, so
good.
we'd love that.
Well, good thing there's never any headphones missing around here. That never
There's
happens.
some here.
Yeah, I'll be there in the break to get them. And today's my Friday, so I'm excited.
Here we go.
Oh, that's right.
Here we go.
That's nice.
We got a lot to get to on the program here today. Predators in action tonight. They will take on the Minnesota Wild. We're going to get into a big Predators discussion coming up at 7 o'clock and look at what the future could look like for John Hines as head coach. So looking forward to that. We'll have Dan Lambert joining the show at 7:30. Our weekly visit with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports from 8 to 8:30. We got a lot to get into with Charles, so looking forward to all that as well. Joe, you were out there yesterday live from the Jeffrey Simmons press conference over at the Titans facility. You had a great tweet about Rand Carthon up there talking, and Jeffrey Simmons and Mike Vrabel watching Rand Carthon speak. And I made a stupid dad joke on Twitter, and people keep talking about it right now. But what were some of your impressions from Jeffrey Simmons and his press conference yesterday over there with the Titans? Officially, I guess, announcing the extension.
Yeah, that was a good tweet.
Thank you.
By you in response to my tweet about Vrabel and Carthon watching Jeffrey Simmons talk, and then Keith Lane says Robby Stanley tweets Joe Rexrode about Joe Rexrode's tweet about Jeff Simmons and Mike Vrabel watching Rand Carthon talk about Jeff Simmons.
Yep,
good
there
job,
you go.
Keith.
I may keep it going.
Yeah, might as well. Just keep it rolling.
Yeah. For one thing, it was about a half hour late, which is very interesting, and I was like,
Still falling apart.
Is he did he actually sign? Did he sign the deal? Is this actually happening? And then I was like, do we need to get Kaharski out of the place and then he'll start? Like, is this just like I'm waiting out? Hopefully Kaharski leaves? I don't know. But eventually he got there, and he got quite emotional. Jeffrey Simmons did. You know, talking about he had a lot of family members there, including his mom, and he talked a lot about her, all that she sacrificed for him as a kid growing up, and some of the he and his brother sharing a bed and things like that, and so it was a cool moment from that perspective. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from the presser.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I thought it was a really cool moment to see the emotion in Jeffrey Simmons yesterday. Not that you can really judge anything by a press conference as to what that's going to mean for him as a player moving forward, but it was kind of a reminder to me, Joe, anyway, that what I already thought of Jeffrey Simmons, I still think probably even stronger now, that the new deal that he's gotten is not going to like affect the way that he plays the game, like especially in a negative way. I would expect Jeffrey Simmons to still be every bit as productive, if not more so, than he has been thus far in his career as they move forward. I guess the one bit of news yesterday is he got his ankle worked on after the season, and got it cleaned out. So hopefully that means he's healthy and ready to go and is full strength again as the season comes around here. But that basically the one bit of news yesterday. Other than that, it was cool to watch the emotion from Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, I think with Jeffrey Simmons, he is a tremendously gifted, talented player. Just has, a strength and a quickness, and just that very few people in a size combination, very few people on the planet have. But I think what sets him apart is his competitiveness, which can border on. I mean, look, you've heard from opponents before talking about him spitting on them whatever, and he certainly talks a lot out there.
It's intense.
Yeah, but that also should tell you. I mean, this wasn't just like to get a payday, and now it's like, okay, just go out there and go through the motions. I mean, he's so competitive, and he's a leader of this team now. I mean, I think he said yesterday he wants to be the voice of the defense, and I'd say, I mean, it's him and Byard
for sure.
Yeah, and that's been a process. So no, I mean that competitiveness and that just intense desire to win on every snap is why he's great. If he didn't have that, he'd be good. But because of that, he's great, and I think that'll continue.
It was interesting. Simmons said yesterday that the first conversation he had with Rand Carthon, he told him that he was going to be a Titan and that Rand Carthon was a man of his word, and here he is with a Titan. I did find I did enjoy the only reason I deleted the social media was just to avoid the distractions on social media and didn't want to be tagged and all that stuff. I enjoyed that. That was
the distraction of like thinking I'm part of the Titans.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that was, and he was asked also about messing with people on Twitter and by Jimmy Wyatt. So I don't remember what he said about that though. What did he say? I
think he just said he wanted to have some fun.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. He did.
He did. He had a lot of fun. Got paid a lot of money while having fun too.
He did.
So shout out to Jeffrey Simmons. But I mean, look, now the question. I mean, if Jeffrey Simmons is healthy, we know what he is. I mean, he's going to be one of the best defensive tackles in all of football. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I would expect that to continue and maybe even to grow over the next couple of years here as he continues to be out there for the Titans and hopefully is healthy. The question I have now is, what about what's around him? Okay, so what is Harold Landry going to be coming off the ACL? We had the same conversation that I'm about to bring up about Danico Autry last year. All right, well, he's getting a little older. Is he going to be as explosive? Is he going to be as good? Well, he was every bit as good last year when he was on the field. You signed Arden Key. What is he going to be? And then what we talked about yesterday, is there somebody else that they're targeting in the draft that could come in and supplement, the pass rush along with those guys? But, Jeffrey Simmons is the least of my concerns on the defensive side of the ball for the Titans right now. What about what's around him with Harold Landry and Autry and Arden Key? If they're all at the top of their game, then I think they got a chance to be pretty darn good. But we'll see what happens. You never know about Landry off the ACL. And as good as Danico Autry was last year, and I expect him to be good again, he is another year older in a league that is not quite as forgiving for you as you get into your 32, 33 age season.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a big part of this season. Is he going to give them all 3 years at that level? They'd need it. And Tier Tart is a very important player up front for them. And look, the inside linebackers, David Long cleaned up a lot of stuff when he was out there playing. He was in the right spot. He was making plays all over the place. How do they look in there? If is it Rice and Alshire? And I'm going to have to really hone my pronunciation on I think it's Alshire, not Alshire.
I think you're right. Alshire.
What are those two guys? I mean, are they? Because last year at times, I think that was certainly when Long was out, and Zach Cunningham had a rough start. Then he gets hurt. I mean, they didn't have the continuity they needed. Are they going to have a duo in there? And obviously, there's the sub package, and you're in that a lot now, and all that stuff. But but that's important as well.
Zach from Nashville on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, excited for the Homertown Boys morning show today. I think we're starting something new here.
WHMR.
Getting right after it today. Got another texter that says, not to start the day in Fantasyland, which is always a good start, but I had a dream the Panthers took Levis, the Texans took Young, and the Titans traded up to 3 and got Stroud and Hopkins for their first this year and next year, plus the Titans 2, 3, and 5 next year. So dreaming about the draft, that's even better.
Yeah, dude, I'm just a little worried about you that you dreamed about the draft.
We're 2 weeks away.
But I guess there's worse things you could dream about.
For sure.
Let's see. Levis. Man, what if the Panthers took Levis first?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be incredible. My gosh. Michelle would have a parade. That'd be fantastic. For your guy.
Just wonderful if that took place. But, hey, I read off the FanDuel odds yesterday. He's co-favorite to go number 2 to the Texans, which is really interesting.
Man. You know, are we going to, by the way, are we going to deal with Michelle's question today at any point on the show? I actually really like that question. Are we going to steal Michelle's topics?
We can do it coming up
next.
Her show for our show?
Let's do it coming up next. There's a nice question that Michelle and Junnie threw out there yesterday that I think is very interesting, which we'll get to coming up next. We're off and running, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
Locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
he knows his
A
stuff
little bit good, a little bit bad.
and knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection keeps you in the game. That's why I always wore a helmet and pads on the field. Life too comes with risk, so I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titan running back and 3-time Pro Bowler Chris Johnson. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Avenged Sevenfold in concert. The wait is finally over. A7X. Friday, September 22nd, Bridgestone Arena. Special guest, Falling in Reverse. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Avenged Sevenfold. New album out June 2nd. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Natalia, solid dismount, but that little pause is a deduction.
Top tumblers hope to stick the landing with Coach Jasmine.
That aerial sequence still needs work.
She needs more certified athletic trainers to find her balance.
Focus. I'm going to need you for the all-around. Wait, who's spotting the vault?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Score, pass, out of bounds. Those are sports words. Some people hear any sports word and they can't help but listen. Like drive. Drive is another sports word. And drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. You might say those savings are on par with the best in the league. You see, par is also a sports word, so I know you're still listening. And that's called covering our bases. Okay, I'm done now. But I'm serious about drivers saving big with Progressive. Now I'm really done.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay? Between you and me, it was lower testosterone. Lower T? Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference.
Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me.
Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HEFTY to 321-321 right now. now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HEFTY to 321321. That's hefty to 321321.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. They're showing a graphic up on the Sports Center screen right now, the longest active playoff streaks in the NHL. Penguins #1, Capitals #2, or Capitals and Preds tied for #2. All of them snapped this year. Pittsburgh eliminated last night, so the 16-year drought is gone.
I know that there's a lot of tears being shed in Nashville for the Penguins.
Yes, I'm sure there are.
Yeah, Ronnie, whoo boy.
Great job at the trade deadline.
I think Ronnie Hextall has been he's been a spy of the Flyers the whole time.
Probably has.
You know, he's just trying to sabotage that. They should have known.
Should have known. We'll get to the Preds coming up a little bit more at 7 o'clock. An interesting question that Michelle and Junnie threw out yesterday that Michelle texted us about last night. And I would be interested to know what Titans fans think about this. And the question is this. If you could ensure that you would get a Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill level quarterback, which we've talked about, Joe, at the number 11 overall pick, would you do that if you're the Titans? If you knew heading into it that regardless of whoever the quarterback is that you draft, they're going to end up having a similar career as a Kirk Cousins or a Ryan Tannehill, who have been around for a long time now, would you make that selection if you were the Tennessee Titans at number 11 overall? I would be very interested to see how Titans fans respond to that question. How do you respond to that question?
It's a great question, and you texted your answer to Michelle, and I basically agree with what you said, which is, for example, I think if you look at this draft, I think Hendon Hooker may be that guy. I mean, I've been saying that for a while, right? I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I don't know that he's going to be a great quarterback in the NFL, and obviously we're all guessing on these guys, and they'll end up so different than we think, but that's what I think about him. And ultimately, I mean, first of all, it's interesting if you're the Titans specifically talking about this because you have that guy. And it's not like he's 38. He's 30. What is he, 33?
34.
He's 34 now. So you already have him. So my answer is no. Ultimately, although you could do way worse, and if you get a guy like that, you certainly have a chance. If you build a great team around a good quarterback, you have a chance to win a championship. It's not like you have no chance. But I would want to be like the Chiefs who got Mahomes at 10. Yeah. I mean, the chances of actually doing that, not great. But that's how I'd look at it. I would, especially with Tannehill in the fold right now, I would rather get a player to help him than just get a younger version of him.
See, my answer was if I drafted somebody at 11 and they ended up being a Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill, and that's what they were throughout their career, I mean, you'd probably be okay with it as the career went on. I mean, it's not what you were hoping for, but, I mean, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. So it's not like they would be just total bust if you drafted them that way. Now, having said that, if I knew heading into it that that's what they were going to be and that was the max level of what they were going to be, I wouldn't do it. I mean, you draft these guys in hopes that you're finding a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes, and those guys are at a different level than Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill. Not, like you said, not that you can't win with Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill, but it takes a whole lot more going right to win with Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill than it does with Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and those type of guys. So, like, if I drafted somebody, let's say they drafted Anthony Richardson. Let's just throw the name out. Anthony Richardson is who they drafted at number 11. Well, you're drafting him because you hope that he can become a Patrick Mahomes type guy and that the potential that you see could make him one of the elite quarterbacks. Now, if in that process you got a 10-year starter and he was Kirk Cousins and he was Ryan Tannehill, I mean, it's not the worst situation in the world, but it's also not what you're drafting him to be. So you could do way worse, but if I knew that that's what they were going to be, my answer would be no.
Michelle, is your answer yes? Your answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, let me ask you guys another question because I was listening back to Junnie and I discussing this, and I think the question and the conversation became more of Ryan Tannehill and Kirk Cousins and their exact career paths right now as they're in the league. But I think more of my question was not specifically these two guys, but the skill sets that they have. That level of quarterback. So, I asked Junnie and I went back and forth on, would you rather bust on a guy or get the level of play like a Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins? And he said bust because he said that there's nothing worse than getting a quarterback like that. And then the argument became, well, if you look at
there's worse. There's worse.
But I mean, I think when we talk about a lot of these draft prospects, and if somehow I would want to do the research one day and take all the first round quarterbacks ever drafted, right, and who actually you only have one Mahomes and one Burrow. And, actually, if you did draft a guy like a Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins, you'd be better off than a lot of other teams around the league. So I think from my perspective, it was along the lines of the likelihood of you getting a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow is so slim that I would be a franchise that, yeah, I'd be good with that.
I agree that the likelihood is slim, but that's what you're going for, right? Like that's what
of course.
That's what you got to shoot for because that's who you got to beat.
So one player comes to mind, and I don't know if he should be in this or not, but I think about like Matt Ryan as an MVP of this league.
Yeah,
he's an MVP of this league with Kyle Shanahan as OC and Julio and other good receivers and two really good backs
Austin
and a
Hooper.
really good offensive line.
Yeah, big hoop.
Yeah. I mean, like utterly loaded. Matt Ryan played at a super high level at quarterback, but is Matt Ryan, like, does he fall in that category of that level? Because if you think he does, then I think that makes your point, right? Is that I mean, you can now, granted they didn't win it, they should have won it. It's Shanahan's fault, but still. Like if you think he's in that realm, and I don't know, maybe you don't. Maybe you think Matt Ryan in his prime was significantly better than those guys. I think he was better, but I could make the case that he's in that kind of in the same tier.
I think he's probably better than Cousins and Tannehill were. Like I would probably put Cousins and Tannehill in tier 3, right? And I would have put that version of Matt Ryan probably in tier 2.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the way that I would look at it.
No,
But to your point,
we've argued for Tannehill in tier 2 before.
We have before, and there have been times where he's looked like he's tier 2
in 2020. He was,
yeah,
I think,
for sure. So
in 19,
John in Springfield on the text line says, "Yes, you do take it because you could always draft higher and end up with Johnny Manziel." This is from John from Springfield
easily
on the text line.
Right.
Ken in Waverly says, "I say no. If you know you're going to get a Tannehill or a Cousins, then no. Why would you want to draft a quarterback at 11 that you know will never get you over that hump?"
But that's the thing. It doesn't mean he can't. It just means that you have less margin for error and you have to build tremendously around
now,
the
having
QB.
said that, neither one of those guys have gotten them over the hump. I mean, Kirk Cousins has the best wide receiver in football, and they can't win a playoff game.
Yeah. Now, he did win a playoff game at the expense of Drew Brees with a clutch drive and incredibly clutch throw at the end of the game. Without him.
Yeah.
So, but yes.
So then the question turned into, because this is a perfect point, then the question turned into, okay, if you're comparing a prospect to one of those guys with their skill sets, but you don't actually know, does he have that like clutchness in him in the playoffs? Because I think people are getting that confused, right? Joe, you just said, well, if you build around them, you can't really say, no, they can't do it. But yes, they haven't done it yet in their careers. But, the Matt Ryan, an example, Even some people would say Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, right? He didn't win the Super Bowl, but he got his team all the way there with a great roster surrounding him. So then, you kind of get into more of that.
Well, and like with Tannehill, before Tannehill threw 3 picks against the Bengals, I thought differently of him, because that's the thing is until you see them in those situations. Now, again, Tannehill had 1 playoff games before too, so whatever you think about that, he made good winning plays in those games. But it's a really good question, because look, I think there's quarterbacks lower than these guys who have won Super Bowls. So, Jimmy G again is 1 throw. Jimmy G's I would put him a little behind both those guys. And he was 1 throw from beating Mahomes and winning the Super Bowl. Now, was it Jimmy G winning it? No, they were an incredibly loaded team, but still, that's what the whole goal is, to win the freaking Super Bowl.
Right, but again, the 1 throw he missed. You got to make the throw.
He missed the throw. He missed the throw. I can't
that's
argue.
The difference.
Yeah.
It's those. Patrick Mahomes not missing that throw. Joe Burrow's not missing that throw, and that's what you got to find if you're a team like the Titans. It's a really interesting question. We got a lot of thoughts on this. We'll continue the conversation coming up next. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. The question is this. If you knew that at number 11 overall, the Titans could take a quarterback and they ended up with a similar career or skill set as a Kirk Cousins or a Ryan Tannehill, would you do it? 615-737-1025. We'll have more on that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg, and this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Robby Stanley here, and it's time for the NBA playoffs, and you can get in on the action right from the first tip with FanDuel. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every single weekend when you bet the NBA playoffs. That's right. Just place a 3+ leg same-game parlay or a same-game parlay plus on any NBA playoff game, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. The Grizzlies and the Lakers coming up on Sunday. I think this is going to be a really good series. I will take Memphis in Game 1, and I'll take the Grizz -3. But you can take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you do it on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook. They've got great promotions every single day, and when you win, you get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Rob and get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend of the NBA playoffs. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/Rob. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, "Don't sell without the intel." This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com. where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
1025 and 1063 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 1025 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Michelle and Junnie threw out this question yesterday. If you knew, if you were the Titans, that at number 11 you could draft a quarterback and they would end up having the same career path / skill set of a Kirk Cousins or a Ryan Tannehill, would you do it? Take your thoughts on our text line, 615-737-1025. So far, we have had one that says yes. So there is that on the text line. Chuck on the text line says, an elite NFL quarterback has to win you at least 3 or 4 games a season by carrying the team. I don't know that Ryan Tannehill has won more than one game in that scenario. He doesn't lose them, but he doesn't win them either. This from Chuck on the text line. Alex from Montreal says, sure, you can get by with C's, but to be on top, you need A's. And another texter says, neither Cousins nor Tannehill intimidate opposing defenses, nor are they winners of the big game. So the answer to that question is, in all capital letters, a big fat no.
Again, Tannehill's last time out in the postseason, you can't argue with it. It was terrible. But Tannehill has won playoff games. Cousins won the game in New Orleans that no one gave him a chance to win. It's not like they've never done it. How many teams right now in the NFL think that they have an elite quarterback? How many teams in the NFL have an elite quarterback?
Well, you're Kansas City,
Cincinnati, Buffalo,
Packers or Jets, we don't know.
Yeah, one of them thinks they got one.
We'll say Jets.
Packers with Jordan Love, 5.
I mean, you got some teams who hope still that they do, like
Justin Herbert.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I'd feel good about that if I were them. You got the Bears hope it'll come around. We'll see. The Dolphins hope they have one. I mean, the Browns have
paid one.
A previously elite one. The Jags hope he comes on, but I mean. Now you'd rather be in that spot, but like to Michelle's point, I mean the Eagles I don't think have a top tier elite quarterback, but they sure almost won it all with him, and sure might this year.
Oh, he's pretty darn good.
He's good.
He's a good player.
But wouldn't you, although a different player, kind of put him in the same realm?
I mean, he had a season last year that Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins have never had. So I mean, I don't know. Like, would you?
Is that true?
I mean, Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill have never been in the NFL MVP conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I mean, he did it a different way, right? I mean,
2019 was right.
How many did he run it? He ran in like 15 touchdowns last year, so it's a different way of doing things.
Yeah,
but
right, it's hard to compare.
Saying, like Ryan Tannehill and Kirk Cousins have never seriously been in an NFL MVP conversation.
That's fair. But yeah, you look around a lot of teams. I mean, the Saints probably gonna win the division. They have a good quarterback. Titans have a good quarterback. I mean, I guess you could say the Lions have a good quarterback. I mean, when conditions are good, I think Goff is right in the team. I know you think that Goff is way behind Tannehill.
He's fine,
but he's good. So it's of course you want that, of course. But like the Steelers, I don't think Kenny Pickett's ever going to be, great. What's so funny?
We had the conversation yesterday, and Junnie's like, well, I think he can be. He had a couple fourth quarter drives toward the end of the season. Of
course.
He said Lamar, no. And then we went to the Steelers next, and he was like, Kenny Pickett, he had a couple fourth quarter drives.
That's the thing is Lamar is very close. When he's healthy and playing, he's close.
Tier 2. Yeah.
But Kenny Pickett, so I don't think he's ever going to be like a top guy, but I think he could be very good. And if the Steelers do what they seem to always have a knack for doing, which is just being solid and building good teams, they could chase championships with him, right?
Yeah, look, I think for most Titans fans, if you knew, and that's kind of what we're getting at, like you knew that they were going to be a Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill type player, I think the large majority of Titans fans would say, no, thanks, man. Like, if they ended up being that, that's one thing, and you try to make the best of it. But if you knew that that's what they were going to be heading into it, I don't think there'd be a whole lot of Titans fans signing up for that. And that doesn't mean that
I agree.
Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill are bad players. But, again, everybody wants that elite guy, right? And you want to find that guy that can give you a chance to win a Super Bowl for 12, 15 years, like Kansas City has stumbled upon with Patrick Mahomes or Cincinnati has stumbled upon with Joe Burrow. Like, you want that guy that's always going to give you a shot to be in the conversation for a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And and we're going to find out with some of these guys. I mean, at some point, Justin Herbert needs, is going to need to, it's going to come up like, okay, is he going to win a playoff game?
Exactly.
It's early, but I'm just saying, I mean, that's still really when you find out about some of these guys. So, but yeah, I couldn't make the pick either, knowing, because you want better than that. It's just so hard to get better than that.
Well, there are so many guys in the league though too that are, even if you think they're a little bit better than Cousins and Tannehill, there are still a lot of guys where I'm like, okay, well, can they win? Like Dak Prescott, right? Like Dak Prescott is getting paid a lot of money, and we've seen Dak Prescott have some games and some seasons where he looks really good. And then last year, I mean, he was throwing interceptions like he's giving away birthday party gifts at his child's birthday party. He's just giving the ball away left and right, and you're like, well, what's going on there? And, Josh from Nashville brings it up on the text line. When you have to consider Dak Prescott, he actually had a little bit better numbers than Josh Allen this past season. I mean, aside from turning the ball over, although Josh Allen turned the ball over a lot.
Yeah,
last year
they
too.
both threw too many picks last year.
But it's just there are so many guys like Dak Prescott that are like right there below that top tier that you're like, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if the Cowboys can win with Dak Prescott. They've not come close to doing so as of yet.
Yeah, he's a really interesting one because I think he's very talented. He's had injuries, but when he's right, he's been very good. But yeah, like last year, all of a sudden it's just a pick fest. So, and he's had, for the most part, he's been surrounded by pretty good supporting cast.
Go to offensive line basically his whole career to this point.
Better than some of these guys, so you maybe think a little less of him in that light.
Cam on the text line says the only positive to doing this would be longevity. You'd have 10 years to try to build around that quarterback if that's the route you went. This is from Cam on the text line. And that is, I mean, look, you're resetting, number one, your quarterback market, your contract, so you're playing on a rookie deal, and you're also, going back in time to, Tannehill's going to be 35 coming up in July. And let's say it was Hooker. He's 25. So you've set it back 10 years, and you can build around that guy on a rookie deal. I mean, you could put together a pretty good roster going that route.
You could. And, I mean, look, really we're kind of disrespecting Tannehill. I mean, we're talking about a top 50 all-time quarterback.
Yes, well, there is that.
So, per some
for
analysts.
Some. In the history of the league. If you go by passing yards, he's in there.
That's true.
If you go by passing yards, Andy Dalton might as well just go and retire, get ready for his Hall of Fame
speech.
Get
that jacket. Get suited for that jacket,
24th,
big Andy.
Dalton. That's still kind of amazing to me that in the history of the National Football League, Andy Dalton is the 24th all-time leading passer by yardage. It's pretty incredible.
That's a great stat.
It really is. Shout out to Andy Dalton.
The Red Rifle.
I look at this quarterback, like, to me, the Anthony Richardson part of this is interesting because, like, we've been talking about Tannehill and Kirk Cousins. Like, I think, to me, and this is just me personally, you may disagree, I think there's a way better than 50% chance that Anthony Richardson eventually ends up being way worse than a Kirk Cousins or a Ryan Tannehill at the NFL level. Now, he's going to be drafted.
Oh, no doubt.
Because the thought process is going to be, well, he also has the potential to be maybe like a Patrick Mahomes type of player at the NFL level. I mean, we've talked about the range on Anthony Richardson. But, like, if you drafted Anthony Richardson and he ended up being, like, Ryan Tannehill, that is a scenario that if I'm drafting him, I could probably live with. It's not what you want, but I could also see a scenario with him and a Will Levis and a lot of these guys where you draft them and it's just really bad. And that's the name of the game with the NFL draft and quarterbacks is we've seen number 1 overall picks be just total duds in the NFL, and we've seen guys drafted in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round with Tom Brady that end up to have great careers. I mean, it's a really interesting process of what works and what doesn't, and we've gone through a laundry list of reasons for that.
That's part of why it's so fascinating. So someone on the text line asked about this is a really good question. The number 6 all-time passer, who's just ahead of number 7, Matt Ryan.
6 normally is ahead of number 7.
Thank you.
Sometimes behind in Joe's mind.
6:41 a.m. Yes. Phillip Rivers.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you take that?
Yeah, but the thing about Phillip Rivers is, man, I mean, never won anything. You could always say, yeah, but man, did he throw some bad picks in some times when he could have won something. You know what I mean? I mean, if you want to specifically take Phillip Rivers.
But he's probably a Hall of Famer. Like, he's probably going to get in the Hall of Fame.
I think he'll get in the Hall of Fame. But, I mean, I think, again, like, if you're going to take this on an individual, like, Michelle's question is not, like she said, about specifically this is exactly the player. It's about that tier. So, I mean, you could say that he's on a higher tier, and yet.
He was definitely on a higher tier. I mean, he's, what was he, like a 11 or 12-time Pro Bowler? I mean, he's pretty good.
Was he? I mean, I assume he must. I don't remember off the top of my head. I assume he must have been in MVP discussions.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I don't know that. And he was never.
I don't know that he was ever really
The problem
close.
with him was you're playing in the same time as Brady and Manning and Breeze and all those guys throughout your career. Yeah. Like.
Who's number 5, by the way?
Yeah. There he is, which is ahead of 6.
Thank you.
Sometimes behind, though, in your mind.
Possibly.
I got a text that says the QB talk doesn't matter until you get a left tackle. It's from an unnamed texter.
Well, stop throwing cold water on our discussion. God, you want to sit here and talk about offensive linemen all day? Come on.
Well, I mean, it does matter. Like,
Yeah.
The Bengals got Joe Burrow before they got a left tackle. It mattered.
And he tore his ACL. But they still had Joe Burrow. And they still do. And they still feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And he still took him to a Super Bowl with an awful offensive
line. Maybe the worst offensive line I've ever seen. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it's time for the best and worst things in sports for this week. We'll take your submissions on our text line, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Sounds Baseball is back. Catch the action at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Baltimore Orioles affiliate. Throwback Thursday returns, presented by Budweiser, as the Sounds wear their classic 1978 throwback uniforms. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Baby metal. Death Clock. The Baby Clock Tour 2023. September 5th, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. Baby Metal, Death Clock, one night together live with special guest Jason Richardson. On sale this Friday, 10 a.m. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/offer. That's ramp.com/offer to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/offer.
If you own a small to medium-sized business that kept employees on payroll through COVID, you may have a big cash refund waiting for you. The Employee Retention Credit is a tax credit of up to $26,000 per employee. And now, more businesses than ever qualify. The experts at RefundsPro.com specialize in cutting through the red tape of qualifying for this government program. Most of their refunds are over $100,000. Even businesses that have received PPP funds may be eligible. And there are absolutely no fees unless you receive a refund. So there's no reason not to apply. If your business experienced shutdowns, limited capacity, supply chain challenges, or reduced revenue due to COVID, you likely qualify. RefundsPro.com has already helped hundreds of businesses. So don't lose the refund you're owed by missing the deadline. Get started today with a free 5-minute questionnaire at RefundsPro.com. That's refunds with an S, pro.com.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some Preds.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Chase and Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I have the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The best and worst of the sports week now on Robby and Rexrode
On ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports. As always, we'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, would you like to kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports for this week?
I would, thank you. And both of them are basketball related. How about that? Best thing, NBA playoffs are here. I'm very, very excited. And
are they?
Well, this week,
I'll get into that in a few
whatever.
minutes.
There have been some really good games. Oh, you got a
Yes,
worse on
Robby.
this. Well, I'm not a huge fan of the play-in stuff. There have been some great games this week. I can take it or leave it. I get it. If you give me a choice, I'd just go back to 1 through 8 and leave it at that. But we're coming up on, I'm excited about Warriors Kings. I'm excited about Clippers Suns. Clippers Suns is a first-round matchup. I don't think you have this too often. A first-round matchup with two teams that, to me, absolutely are good enough to win the whole thing. You don't see that a ton. And I would not say that I don't think the Kings are good enough to win the whole. I don't think they're ready this year. But that's also a very interesting. Cavs Knicks is a good freaking series.
Lakers Memphis.
Grizzlies, Lakers, I'm all in. I don't want to miss a second of that. So that's my whole thing. All this hate that I've heard this week. I heard Jared with his usual exaggeration, hyperbole. No one cares. No one cares in the NBA. Blah blah. Nah, man. There's a lot of fair criticisms of the league. They got to fix all the stuff that's going on in the regular season and everything. But the playoffs are amazing. I'm pumped for that. Worst, I'm going to double down on what I did yesterday. The WNBA. Now I'm seeing some of the reaction from people in the WNBA, including some players. What are you complaining about? You can request a player to come out and talk to you. Just stop it. Stop it. It's such a terrible, dumb decision by the league, and I hope that people continue to complain enough that they change their minds. So there you go.
Very nice. Michelle Knesvik, your best and worst things.
No, did I just steal it from you? I'm sorry, Michelle.
I'm staring Joe down. I'm listening to you right now, and you're like, I'm doing basketball, and I'm like,
oh, boy.
So very similar.
We have hive mind.
It hurts both of you that you can't talk college basketball this week, doesn't it?
We could.
Yes,
The portal.
The portal. Okay, so my best in sports, you know that I am required to watch the Chicago Bulls because of, my roommate. And we were watching them last night, and they're not very good. And they were down by about 20 points to the Raptors. And I'm like, oh, well, throw in the towel. Oh, well, not a big deal. And
sorry, Ryan. At least you can cheer for your crappy White Sox.
This is why, Zach LaVine is in the upper echelon of, one of the great, not great, but a very, very elite player in the NBA. I also don't think he gets a lot of respect when talked about. But, when you talk about a player taking over a game, they're down by 20. DeMar DeRozan took a towel and ripped it in half. He's so upset. And Zach LaVine just went off last night. And I think that's what makes the NBA playoffs so exciting because, you are watching the most elite basketball players in the world. We talk about college basketball, how it's great. Okay, well, what, 3% of those guys, or maybe not even 3% of college basketball players end up playing in the NBA. But just an incredible performance. They ended up winning, so that made my household happy last night. And the ESPN broadcast did just an amazing job because DeMar DeRozan's daughter, she's probably an elementary schooler, and you can hear her shrieking. She does this thing where the opposite team goes to the foul line, and you can hear her shrieking, and they're just doing a close-up of her face. And she's shrieking when they screaming so loud when they shoot the foul shots. And then the Raptors usually at the foul line shoot 78.4%, and they shot 50 last night. So you can shout out to DeMar DeRozan's daughter on that. And my worst in sports is also the WNBA. Like I just said, kind of with Joe, you touched on it. I just don't understand that a league that wants people to cover them and wants more media recognition would close something like that. And that's really all. If there's a specific reason that nobody's thinking of, okay, tell us. But I highly, highly doubt it. You're just hurting yourselves.
There you go.
I'm glad that we doubled up on that one.
All right, my best thing in sports, the Tampa Bay Rays starting 12-0. We were talking about this before the show.
How about that?
They are one shy of tying the MLB record, which is 13-0 that was set in 1987 by the Brewers and in 82 by the Braves. So,
shout out Rob Deere and Paul Molitor.
There you go. So 12-0 for the Tampa Bay Rays. They'll try to go for 13-0. I guess they play today. So we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah.
Tropicana.
Today.
Well, Thursday sometimes is an off day.
We'll see. At some point, they're going to be going for 13-0. We'll see if they can't get there. But a 12-game winning streak at any point in Major League Baseball is very impressive. A 12-game winning streak to begin the season in Major League Baseball is very impressive. And one game away from doing something that's only been done 2 other times in the history of the league. So shout out to the Tampa Bay Rays. My worst thing in sports, I absolutely despise the NBA play-in games. I cannot stand them. I understand that some of the games themselves have been good, but you play 82 games to determine the playoffs. I don't know why in a league that has 30 teams and already 16 of them make the playoffs, which means over half the freaking league makes the playoffs. I don't know why we have to add these 2 other games to give the 10 seed a shot to make the playoffs. You know what your shot to make the playoffs was? The 82 games that you played in the regular season. I cannot stand the NBA play-in tournament. All we've done now is delay the playoffs for a week, essentially. So congratulations. You can play for the right to get smashed by the Milwaukee Bucks, as my Heat and Bulls are doing coming up on Friday. Or the Thunder won last night, so congratulations. Y'all can have a chance to go get absolutely destroyed by the Denver Nuggets coming up here next week. You've delayed the playoffs for a week. You basically had, everybody else is sitting on their hands waiting for this play-in stuff to get over. I hate the NBA play-in tournament. I think it's one of the dumbest things they've ever done. Can't stand it.
So so that makes 20 of 30, right? 20 of 30.
20 of 30.
20 of 30, quote unquote, make the postseason.
Yeah.
Do postseason streaks? Do they count that?
Do you know that stats don't count at all in the play-in tournaments?
Yeah, it's just
they do not count at all.
They don't count for your playoff stats,
nope.
Career playoff stats.
They are nowhere to be found ever. The only thing that counts is whoever wins.
Out there.
That's
the
weird.
Craziest thing.
That is wild.
You got 30 teams. 16 of them make the playoffs. I think it's probably enough.
Yeah.
Over half the league.
You're not wrong.
Cam on the text line says, best thing is the NHL playoff stretch and the Bruins breaking the all-time points record. So Boston did set the all-time win record and now have broken the all-time points record in the regular season as well. His worst is Zion Williamson cleared but not playing because his family is upset about the Pelicans wanting to weigh him. Like, come on, man, you're a professional athlete. This is from Cam on the text line. The Zion Williamson thing has been really interesting to monitor down there in New Orleans. Like, they got to be so mad at the way this thing has played out. And, obviously he was the first pick. John Morant was the second pick in that draft. And I would say Memphis probably, until some off-the-court behavior this year from John Morant, really thanking their lucky stars that was the selection that they made between those two, because he has been way better on the court and certainly more available.
It's really the whole thing is so disappointing because I still believe that Zion Williamson can be one of the greats. I really do.
I do too.
In fact, I remember being a guest on a previous version of the morning show here and going off on the host who said that R.J. Barrett was going to be a better pro than Zion Williamson. Like, what? You guys must hate basketball. You're kidding me. Watch Zion Williamson play, dude. He should be a dominant NBA player. It's ridiculous.
I got a text that says, dude, Robby, why do you think there is a play-in game? Maybe because the records are tied, man. No, they're not. It's a play-in game. It happens every year. This is not because they have the same records. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're going to do this.
Pay attention.
It's just 7 through 10, man.
7 through 10.
Whatever the records are,
the records
is what
tied.
It is. Yeah.
So pay attention before you comment on things. That'd be great. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025.
Also, he says Lakers are going to sweep the Grizz.
Yeah, I mean, just total absurdity all over that text. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll get into the Nashville Predators. And we know the Predators have been eliminated from the playoffs. What does it mean for John Hines? Will John Hines be back as head coach for the Nashville Predators next year? We'll get into that. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, entering right up the middle, touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good.
They have not found their groove.
It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Huge store-wide savings, plus the unveiling of thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, all specially priced. Save up to 35% store-wide and get zero interest financing. Special pricing on natural and lab-grown diamonds, April 21st through the 23rd. Only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Parman Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Parman Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution providing totally outrageous customer service.
Tens of thousands affected by the toxic water at Camp Lejeune are left with death,
cancer, Parkinson's, dementia, birth defects, and other serious illnesses. And along with the harm, so many worries.
My family drank the Camp Lejeune water. What if our health gets worse and we need more financial help?
How do I protect my VA benefits and get the compensation I deserve and need?
The answer is simple. Call James Harris Law, the experienced, trusted law firm that can get you significant compensation while protecting all your VA benefits. We're already fighting for hundreds of Marines, families, and civilians who drank Camp Lejeune water. But if you miss the deadline, you could forever lose your right to the justice you deserve. So call our Camp Lejeune legal helpline now. Now may be your last chance to receive full compensation. Don't delay. Call 800-704-9155. That's 800-704-9155. 800-704-9155.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. The Winnipeg Jets took down Minnesota last night to clinch the final wildcard spot. It is the first time since the 2013-2014 season that Nashville will not participate in the playoffs. The team announced today that they have sent forward Igor Afanasyev down to AHL Milwaukee. Nashville will wrap up their season with 2 final home games on Thursday and Friday. Don't miss Smashville Live tonight from Brewhouse 100 in Bellevue starting at 6. Preds player guests Spencer Stastny and Jake Livingstone will be hanging out for the hour talking all things hockey. Titans defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons met with the media today for the first time since his contract extension and spoke about the deal.
To have a female owner, a lady owner in the NFL, to trusting you so much from kind of the adversity that I went through throughout my journey to get here, you know, it means so much to me.
And the Nashville Sounds are back in action tonight hosting Norfolk. Coverage begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. We will have Predators assistant coach Dan Lambert joining the show at 7:30. Our weekly visit with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports from 8 to 8:30, so looking forward to that coming up a little bit later in the show. Right now, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Preds back in action tonight. They'll take on the Minnesota Wild at home at Bridgestone Arena, and then the season finale tomorrow, Joe, as they host the Colorado Avalanche. So 2 more games in the regular season. You know, the Predators talked yesterday. Ryan McDonough was discussing, basically just how tough it is these last 2 games. He didn't make any bones about it. Like, yeah, it's pretty tough to get motivated, but they basically said UC Saros has played so well all season long that they owe it to him to play these last 2 out here. So we'll see how the Predators come out tonight against Minnesota and tomorrow against Colorado. But now the looking ahead to what's next for the Predators has begun with the fan base, and we know that there will be no playoffs. I'm sure that we'll hear from the Predators brass at some point next week in their, before the off-season kind of media address, end-of-season press conferences that will take place, I'm sure, at some point next week. So what does it all mean for John Hynes? That's the immediate question. We know Barry Trotz is coming in, and we know we've talked about the roster moves that have been made and the options that the Predators have this summer. But who's going to be coaching them? Who will be the coach for the Predators as they move ahead? Will John Hynes get another year? Will the Predators decide to move on from John Hynes and Barry Trotz go hire his own coach? That's kind of the immediate question now with the Nashville Predators, and there are a variety of different opinions on it. We've heard from a lot of you on the text line. We'll continue to do that today. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. But, Joe, now that we know that there will be no playoffs, there's not going to be a postseason run for this young group, what do you think this all means for John Hines as we sit here 2 games away from the end of the regular season?
First of all, real fast, I do have some information on that. Player exits interviews Sunday. Poyle and Trotz Monday at 10 a.m. and not sure yet on Hines. So there you go. So it's coming right up after this. Also, before we get to Hines, I did have one thought, and I don't know the answer. When's the last time the Preds played a regular season game that meant nothing? Like, in other words, even like if they were in the playoffs, maybe it still could have meant something to their placement or something. Like, would it have been the President's Trophy year
when they had wrapped it up?
President's Trophy year when they had wrapped it up. So it's been, and obviously a very different kind of meaning nothing, right? But so it's been a long time, and yeah, that's a big question. I think every day on the text line, someone asks that. Even if we could be talking about, Australian rules football, and someone throws out the question of, we don't talk about that enough, by the way.
Need to talk about it more.
Yeah, we do. But someone throws out that question about John Hines. Everybody wants to know. I don't have, like, first of all, I don't agree with the idea of Carl Taylor just coming in and taking his job. I know some people have thrown that out there. I think Carl Taylor has done a lot to earn himself an opportunity to be an NHL head coach. I don't think that's the move. I think the move is, again, to me, it's if you have your guy in mind, and you being Barry Trotz, well, okay, there you go. And if you don't, and you have an open mind, and you've just been trying to evaluate Hines and figure out if he should keep the job, if he should coach out the last year of his contract, well, then you're probably impressed right now, right? I mean, I would have to think that you would have a better view of him than you did when you started to evaluate him based on how the team has played. I mean, is there not any correlation between this team hanging into this race with all these guys hurt and a bunch of young guys out there and Hines' job performance?
Well, I think there is. I think, to me, a lot of this comes down to a question that we don't know the answer to right now, and that is, what will the approach be for Barry Trotz in terms of the roster this offseason, right? So if your approach is, we've got cap space, we've created a lot of assets for ourselves based on the trades that we've made, and we can be aggressive and go put ourselves in position to make some trades and or sign free agents, maybe a combination of the two, and you feel like you could get right back to being a team that can compete next year, then do you feel like John Hines is the coach to lead you that way? Because to me, that's very different than coming back with, this is going to be a longer process, kind of a slow burn, as you will, and the young guys are taking over next year. Like, that's 2 different ways of operating. So which way is Barry Trotz leaning? Like, obviously, like, you can have a plan to go out and make trades and to sign free agents. You still have to make those things happen. Maybe his plan is simply, we'll take a look around. If something presents itself, then we'll act. But the plan is to have these young guys come up and just see what we got. And honestly, that may be the way that I'm leaning in terms of what I'd like to see them do. And if that's the case, does the way that they played down the stretch convince you, if you're Barry Trotz, that John Hines deserves the final year of his deal? I mean, I look at the way they played down the stretch a couple different ways. It's incredibly impressive that they hung in there and they were in the playoff race way longer than anybody thought they would be after the deadline, especially when the injuries started to kick in. All that's really impressive. We talked about it yesterday, though. They couldn't score. They were the worst team in the league scoring goals coming down the stretch. And I understand why. Like, when you have those amount of injuries, you're not going to be as prolific offensively. So I get that. But, UC Saros covers up a lot of things. I mean, it is what it is. He's on your team. He's on your roster. So you got to plan for that moving forward. And that's great to have, but what does that mean in terms of how you're evaluating the coach? That's the answer that I don't know if you're Barry Trotz. But I think a lot of it depends on, in the back of Barry Trotz's mind, which way is he planning on going coming up this summer? I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, for sure. And, look, there are people, April jumps all over this, April in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a flip-flopper. Fire Hines. I just, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's fine. I just can't. I haven't heard a great explanation from anyone who is convinced that he's a terrible coach, other than, like, you just think that. Now you can look at pros and cons, and certainly I think one of the big cons would be just probably how things went with Ellie Tolvin, and not the fact that he was put on waivers and they lost him, but just the fact that he never really developed here. Now, let's see, what did he end up? Where is he now with the? He had 27. He's sitting there at 27 points in 47 games with Seattle. So not exactly lighting the world of now 16 goals.
It's good.
Yeah. So he's going to end up. He may end up between the two places. May end up with a 20-goal season, but probably not. He's sitting there at 18 in 60 games. But like that. Tolvin in particular is if anybody who's against Hines is he doesn't develop young players. But there are other young players who I feel like have gotten a lot better, and he's been the coach. Do they count for him or not? I think things should count for and against a coach when they are good or bad.
Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our buddy Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby. Hey, I've ripped on Hines so hard, like unfairly. Like I really have no reason to hate his guts, but pretty much. Because I was a big Robby fan, and pretty much for like the last year, when I see him on the bench, I'm like, ugh, like I think there's something about his face, like he's not expressive enough for me, so it looks like he doesn't care, and so I want my coach, I guess, to be a cartoon character. I want to know what they're thinking, but this guy, he doesn't really give you much, but at the same time, I've completely changed my opinion about him. Watching these young players play so well. I know they're not scoring goals like crazy. You got to learn how to do that. But at the same time, they were competitive. Every night they were competitive. Even the game that we got roasted by the Kraken a couple weeks ago, I got to go to, lost by 7 goals. But, for the most part of that game, it was competitive. And just seeing I don't know, I'm more mad, instead of any of the players that were out there actually hustling, I'm more mad at somebody like Forsberg. And I know y'all probably don't like that, but like, this wasn't your contract year, and you couldn't figure a way back on the ice, but you found a way. It just really ticks me off, man, because I feel like we were like one good player away from actually getting to the postseason, which is crazy impressive by the young guys. So I'm not mad at the coach. I say keep the coach. And just I'm more sick with Forsberg.
Hey, thanks for the call, Adam. We'll take your thoughts. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. What do you think the future looks like for John Hines? Should he keep his job heading into next season, the final year of his contract with the Predators? 615-737-1025. More on that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Call. Join Robby and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours. 2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions. They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezvik here for Superbook Sports. If you listened yesterday, I told you to pick the underdogs to cover. They both covered last night. OKC and the Bulls, they actually both won outright. Got a couple more NBA games we want to take a look at on Superbook Sports. Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers. 76ers are an 8.5-point favorite on Saturday. I'm going to take the Nets plus the 8.5. I do think the 76ers will come out on top, though. And baseball is back. You can take a look at some of those games. The Rays are hot. They're looking to go 13-0, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. So make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around. It's my official sports book with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus. Yes, $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. Take some of the wagers that I just gave you, and don't let spring pass you by without winning some money from Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now is a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? An intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Don't miss Nashville's best NFL draft coverage on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Join Jared Stillman, Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders as they broadcast live from Twin Peaks in Cool Springs, home of 29-degree beer, on Thursday, April the 27th. Also, make sure you tune in for some Nashville Sounds baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. Sounds taking on the Norfolk Tides, the AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, discussing the Preds. We'll have Dan Lambert, Preds assistant coach, coming up here in just a few minutes at 7:30. Right now, what about John Hines? What does his future look like with the Predators, and what has the evaluation of Barry Trotz been of John Hines to this point? Predators, as we know, not making the playoffs. They're back in action tonight, taking on the Minnesota Wild. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Nate on the text line says, I don't think Hines is a terrible coach, but at the same time, I give Carl Taylor the majority of the credit for the success of the young players. Noah from Springfield says, how much of the Preds' success is Hines coaching versus Saros' goaltending? This is from Noah from Springfield on the text line.
Yeah, so, and I've heard that a lot, and that's fair, but I also say this. He's had Saros, and he's also had a lot of issues with the roster in other areas, right? So has he overcome other limitations? I mean, this is obviously this year they did not make the playoffs. I might argue that this year getting as close as they did might be as impressive as anything. Obviously 2 years ago they required a crazy run to get in. So yes, you're right. Saros erases a lot of ills, right? And you could say coaching ills, but also you could say the roster is weak otherwise. I mean, I said this yesterday. I think that the overall performance of Hines is right in line with what he's had overall, and that includes Saros. I mean, they've had, obviously, a lot of inconsistency with a lot of different players. Now, you can always look at that, too. How much is that on him? Do you give him? I do give him some credit. I gave him a lot of credit at the time for, obviously, like it was like a whole summer of, I don't know, like he and Johansson and Duchesne were like camping together and meditating. I don't know what the heck they did, but there was a lot of effort put into reaching them, and then they both had, I mean, Duchesne had a career year last year. Johansson had a huge bounce-back year. Is that him? Is that because they both got left exposed and they were ticked off about it and they were sick of hearing about everything? I'm sure there's a little bit of truth in all that. I give him some credit for that.
I do too. Look, this year is the interesting one to me because I thought heading into the season this was the best team that he's had on paper, right? I mean, you saw what we had a year ago in terms of the discussion that we were talking about of Forsberg and Duchesne and Johansson and all those guys. Now, having said that, we expected that those guys would take a step back, right? Like, would Duchesne really score 40 again? Probably not. Would Yossi put up 96 points again? Probably not. So we knew that heading into it. But they got McDonough, they got Niederreiter. Like, they should have been a playoff team. And they weren't. And, you know, for the first time, I thought that coaching was part of that. I was like, you got to get these guys to be able to play at a higher level that they played at the first part of this season. And, look, I'll be honest with you. When they decided to sell, and they announced that Poyle was stepping aside at the end of the season and that Barry Trotz was coming in, I thought that was it. Like, I thought that was it for John Hines. Like, you're bringing a new general manager in. That's probably going to be it. And then we saw the last few weeks. And the young guys come up. They hang in there longer than anybody thought they would. They made it fun down the stretch. And I think the viewpoint on Hines for some people has changed, maybe even some people in the organization. So I don't know what they're going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone at the end of next week. I also would not be surprised at this point if they kept him and that he was coaching out the last year of his contract heading into next year. Like, if I had to pick one right now, that's probably where I'm leaning, is that he will be back and he will coach the last year of his contract.
Yeah. Absent an obvious name for Trotz to bring in to be, quote-unquote, his coach, I would lean that way too. Josh and Kyle, very different thoughts. Josh, this is interesting. I feel like consistency in coaching is so much more important than we all think sometimes. I'm a Braves fan, pretty much my whole life, 3 managers, successful. These young guys would benefit from Hines sticking around. I think Mariota would have had a much more successful career had he had the same coordinator or coach for more than a year at a time early in his career. And then Kyle says, I would think the success of AHL be more Carl Taylor, not to mention Tolvanen, the constant blending of lines and ability to motivate veteran players. And again, I just gave you an example of I think counters that. That's me. And then back to Kyle, quote, Hines needs to go. We need a fresh start.
Yeah, I mean, the veteran players part of this is interesting because
it's been up and down.
It's been up and down. And, you know, we've talked about, you know, John Glennon's comments of some things that Hines has said in terms of this young group and not having to really motivate them and they show up hungry, all those things. Well, is he talking about? I don't know, like Ryan Johansson or Matt Duchesne, or like, is there anybody specific that he's referring to? Like, who are you referring to there? I mean, it's pretty clear that he liked the approach, at least, of these young guys. And look, it's a different thing when you've got guys that are established in the league and they're making a lot of money, and you contrast that with young guys coming in that are trying to prove themselves. It's just a different mindset. Now, that doesn't always mean that it's a worse mindset. I'm just saying it's different when you have a veteran-laden team and a younger team. So I don't know what that means moving forward. I just, from Barry Trotz's point of view, he is a coach. He's one of the top coaches in the history of the league by wins. He's going to be a Hall of Fame head coach one day. So he's gotten a firsthand look now of how John Hines operates, what he does, the meetings, the plan, all those things that Barry Trotz would know better than anybody else of what's going on in there. He has a firsthand look at it, and I am leaning towards John Hines probably coming back next year. I'm not going to be totally surprised if he doesn't, because anytime you change the GM, I'm never surprised if a coaching change follows that. It's just the way pro sports can work. But if I had to pick right now, I think that he's going to be back next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. That'd be my guess. I think that's I don't know what the exact betting odds would be, but I think they should favor Hines being back. April, quote, "It was the best team he's had. They were upgraded from the previous year. He couldn't win with what he had. He won with Carl Taylor's players. Fire Hines." April wants Hines gone.
At least she's consistent.
Well, look, she's not alone. I mean, there's a lot of people, even when we talk about young players, they're like, well, it's Carl Taylor. And Carl Taylor, I agree. Like, he has been a part of their development this year. I mean, Tomasino went down. Evangelista went down. They all played well. Now, I also think a lot of those guys, like Evangelista, got better as he was up here. Like, he could continue to get better and better.
I mean, how come, like, I agree. Like, Carl Taylor's did a good job, and I think he's put himself in position to get a shot in the NHL. But, like, is this all over the league? Like, if there's good young players on the team, it's like, well, but look at the AHL coach, though. You know, I mean, obviously, that's an important part of the player's development. But I feel like it's exaggerated here because some people just don't like Hines.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the backup quarterback. You know,
right?
It's always the better. And I'm not saying, look, I've talked to Carl Taylor a little bit. I've been around Carl Taylor. I like Carl Taylor. I think he's a good coach, and I think at some point he's probably going to be an NHL head coach. Is that going to be now? I don't know. Maybe some team comes calling this offseason. Heck, maybe the Predators really like him and they come calling this offseason. I have no idea. But I do think sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves with the AHL coach part of this. Remember, John Hines used to be that guy.
That's right.
He used to be the AHL head coach, and then
were people screaming for John Hines? Maybe they were. Maybe they got their way.
I don't know. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Predators assistant coach Dan Lambert. We'll get into the team and the game tonight as they take on the Minnesota Wild. That's coming up next.
We can ask him this question.
Yeah, we'll ask him all those things. Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week at thegamenashville.com. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robby and Rexrode, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for another Kubota field event at Coleman Tractor of White House.
Their biggest sale event of the year will take place in White House on Saturday, April 22nd.
Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250 off select purchases. Plus, enter to win prizes and free barbecue lunch from 11 to 1. Try it and buy it during the Kubota field event Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 2 p.m. at Coleman Tractor of White House at 3613 Highway 31 West.
Genesis Diamond's spectacular spring store-wide sale is coming April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. 3 incredible days of store-wide savings. Up to 35% off engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, wedding bands, plus special financing. Even Genesis GIA-certified diamonds are marked down. Lab-grown diamonds, too. Plus, top jewelry designers are flying in with all new amazing designs. You can't miss this annual event. Save up to $10,000 on some items. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd only. And only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity, equity lines, car loans. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. It looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
When you want live and local,
if they were just better at the offensive line,
you can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. Preds back in action tonight at Bridgestone Arena, taking on the Minnesota Wild. And to help us talk about that, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Preds assistant coach Dan Lambert. Dan, good morning. How we doing?
Doing great, guys. How are you doing?
We're awesome. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, Dan, obviously a tough night on Tuesday night with Winnipeg winning and clinching the final spot in the West. I know Ryan McDonough and Colton Sissons and some other guys kind of addressed that yesterday and what's going through their minds right now. But from your vantage point, well, what was the mood like yesterday around the room, and what's the approach tonight as you guys take on Minnesota?
Well, I think everybody, is disappointed. We certainly had a good push, with a very inexperienced team, and I thought that they handled it extremely well. The mood is, we know we have only 2 games left, and that certainly wasn't the plan. But in saying that, we want to try to end the season on a very positive note here.
Yeah, so – and obviously, you guys have done so much work here, Dan, down the stretch to stay in this thing, things like that. So, it's an obvious disappointment, but what were the conversations like? Have you guys been able to, I guess, sort of decompress a little bit and sort of express appreciation, or is that something that you sort of wait until it's all over to do?
Yeah, no, we still have 2 games left, so no, it's certainly not anything we've done so far. I don't think it's time to tap each other on the back yet. We've got 2 games to play, and we want to put on a good show for our fans. They certainly have deserved that, and our young guys, a lot of them are still trying to, impress. They're trying to impress management. They want to make sure that they have a good showing here in the last couple of games to leave a good impression on the coaching staff and the management.
Dan, UC Saros, I mean, we know the player that he is and that he has been for you guys for a long time now, and he's done it yet again this year, put himself in the Vezina Trophy conversation. How do you put in the words, number one, I guess the way that he played down the stretch here, but number two, what he's meant to you guys since you've been here as a staff here in Nashville?
Well, he had big shoes to fill in Pekka Rinne. I mean, obviously there's a statue of the guy that he replaced, and he's done that extremely well. I mean, we know the value of Juice and how important he is to this organization, very much like Pekka was. And, I think you don't win in this league unless you have great goaltending. We obviously have exceptional goaltending, and he proves it night in and night out. People say small goalies can't play. Well, he's obviously proving everybody wrong when it comes to that. And he's such an amazing pro. He just shows up every single day, and he's our hardest working guy. And, it's certainly he's a player that other professionals can learn from.
Yeah, and obviously you're talking about a guy too, Dan, who to me should be, I think, a Vezina finalist. I'm sure you guys feel strongly about that as well. Have you even seen him take it up a notch this year? Maybe not just play, but even in terms of presence in the room and things like that?
Well, when you look at his body of work over the last few years, I mean, really last year is the season he became, for the first time, really a number one. And he did that amazingly. He certainly should be in the Vezina candidate. He should have been last year. He certainly needs to be this year. Whether we're not the ones that control that, and then as far as his leadership role, absolutely, he's taken strides. I think he took strides from last year to this year as far as just even handling the workload and how he works through practice, and I think he's learning to manage his body a little bit better, because before he was just going 100 miles an hour every single practice, every single shot, every drill. I think he's learning to manage that a little bit better, and he's done an amazing body of work here over the last 2 seasons, and there's no doubt that he's up there when you talk about the best goalies in the National Hockey League or in the world, for that matter.
President Assistant Coach Dan Lambert with us here on Robby and Rexrode. Dan, what have you learned about the younger players in your group playing in some high-stakes games coming down the stretch? I know the high-stakes games didn't always go your way, but some of them did. A lot of them did, and the young players were a driving force behind that. What have you learned about your young group of guys as you've watched them play the last few weeks?
The one thing that I think is evident is the fact that they're very resilient. I mean, we had our nights. You think about the New York Rangers game where we get blown out, and even in Dallas, we had a rough night. But in saying that, they always came back and always had an answer, and I think that's credit to them. Obviously, John Hines did a great job of coming up with solutions to why we struggled in those nights, and next thing you know, the following night, the corrections were made, and the guys, really responded well to that. They competed every single night. It was never from a lack of effort. The one thing that maybe people don't recognize is we probably had the toughest schedule down the stretch. Or I think I might be off by a game or so, but I think it was 28 games we played in 52 days, and a really, really minimal practice time. And these guys handle that extremely well. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when, it's your first year in the league, your first games in the league, and then to have to deal with that schedule, with the travel and everything else. I thought they were able to manage that, extremely well.
Specifically among that group, Dan, what do you think the future holds for Luke Evangelista?
Well, I mean, there is no doubt that Luke is very gifted offensively. It seems like the puck at times just follows him. He's got great vision, great passing ability. But he's got some big strides to make in the sense that he needs to get stronger, faster, just like every young player that's 21 years old. he's or 20 years old, he's the same in that department. But there's no doubt that the future is very bright for him. And we love his attitude. We love his work ethic. It just seems like there's no moment that's too big for him. If he has a bit of a slow night or an off night, he's always responded with a great night after that. So we've been very pleasantly surprised and pleased with how he's played, and I think the future as a Pred for Luke Evangelista is very bright.
Well, Dan, we really appreciate your time for being with us this morning. Good luck tonight against Minnesota, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Preds assistant coach Dan Lambert, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. And, that's what you got to identify if you're Barry Trotz, if you're John Hines, if you're the Predators moving forward, who are the guys that are kind of that next wave to build around, right? Regardless of what your approach is. Like, you know that Saros is coming back. You know that Roman Josi is coming back. Forsberg's under contract. We'll see about Duchesne and Johansson and decisions that they make there. I would assume at least one of them are going to be back next year, probably both. But I do think you can have some of those guys coming back and also try to identify, like, who is that next core? Like, is that, I think Evangelista is going to be part of it. Is Tomasino going to be part of it? Parsonen. Obviously, Cody Glass played a big role this year. Like, what's the next step for those guys, and how good do you think they can be? And maybe it doesn't happen immediately next year. I heard you guys on Jared versus Joe yesterday talking about, like, wins fair expectations for this team to make the playoffs.
Jared's got to win the cup next year.
Yeah, he does have the back of the playoffs next year for sure. I mean, look, if they bring back the young guys, and that's basically all they do this summer is we're going young and we're seeing what you got, and I think it could be an interesting year next year in terms of, I think it'll be a struggle to make the playoffs. You have Saros, so you're going to give yourself a shot, but I think it could be a struggle to make the playoffs if that's the way you go. But I also think that may be the smartest way for them to go, so they can identify what they got, who they got, and who's worth building around as they move forward here.
And you didn't even mention Tommy Novak.
I didn't.
Disrespect
he's gonna be
for
there.
Tommy Novak. Well, Jared's point is, okay, so look at what they've done. So now add Forsberg, add Josi, add Duchesne healthy, and what does that mean? And I get it.
I mean, again,
but
they're dead last in the league in scoring goals coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
So,
but they do have Saros. So that's the thing. I mean, I will agree with the idea that if you have UC Saros as your goalie, you probably shouldn't be counted out of anything.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
Yes.
So from that perspective, it could be interesting.
It could be. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Coming up next is time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. We will do that next. Speaking of the Preds, hang out tonight before the Preds game at the Superbook Lounge in Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials, plus enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
This week at the Electronic Express Spring Clearance Event, get instant savings of up to 40% off in every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, gaming consoles, speakers, and more. At Electronic Express, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop the Spring Clearance Event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, Robby, Stanley here, and the NBA playoffs are here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/Rob right now and place a $5 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 back in bonus bets, win or lose. So FanDuel, I've talked to you about it for a long time. They've got great promotions every single day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid instantly. I like the Milwaukee Bucks coming out of the East, and I like the Phoenix Suns coming out of the West. But you can take it any way you want to take it. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to FanDuel.com/Rob and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. You can see full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Got a gambling problem? Make sure you call the Tennessee Red Line today at 1-800-889-9789.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go, so I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partner with Beacon. With the new Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. It's like having my Beacon rep in my pocket 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through June, purchase through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
Union Pacific Railroad wants you to join its team. It's an opportunity that comes with great pay and benefits. There are a variety of open roles across its 23-state network, including train crew positions, with hiring and relocation incentives of up to $50,000 in some locations. You can even get a free college education while working. Union Pacific Railroad connects hundreds of communities, hauling goods Americans rely on every day. Get your career on the right track with Union Pacific and apply today at up.jobs/sports. That's up.jobs/sports.
They talk sports.
The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life.
Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Here or there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment, let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
I scrubbed all the photos of Joe Rexrode off my social media years ago, and he still hasn't noticed.
Oh, boy. Well,
I mean,
your social media got a lot less sexy.
You know, I will, and I will put all your photos back up on my social media.
Just make sure you have the one of me quarterbacking with a cigarette in the mouth, and that's really the only one you need, man.
One of the all-time greats. One of my favorite, first Don's like, who's this 42-year-old guy who you went to college with?
Oh, one of the best, Charles Robinson. We'll have him coming up at 8 o'clock, so looking forward to that conversation with him. It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe Rexrode's rant of the day.
I think Charles played center while I was winging like lasers all over the field at quarterback. I think Charles was if you're the center in flag football, I mean, basically, you snap the ball back to the quarterback. So that's all I'm going to say, Charles.
Jeez.
Love you, Charles. Okay, so first of all, this may be a re-rant, a Rex Rant re-rant, but I don't know. Have I ranted about leftovers before?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, good. Do you guys like leftovers?
Not a huge leftover guy, to be honest with
It depends on the food.
It does depend on what it is, but in general, not a huge leftover guy.
I mean, so this is generational. It's got to be generational. And here's a great example of why my generation's better than your generation.
Okay, all right.
Because leftovers, to me, are one of the great things in life. Yes, I agree. There are differences. Now, I love cold pizza, okay? But really, I'm trying to think of something that I don't love the next day. But I think that casseroles in general are better second day, and I make a lot of casseroles. Stews, chilies. So tell me, okay, before I get into this, tell me what leftovers are bad.
I can't do, like, if I take home some Mexican food or something, I can't do it.
Really?
The next day. Like, I don't know if it's a mental block, but, like, it needs to be hot. For some reason, I just can't do it the next day.
Okay. Well, you can heat it up.
I know. It's just not the same.
Yeah. Okay, so the only food that I would say you must eat it today because, like, there's no point in keeping it tomorrow is sushi. I mean, sushi is – and I love sushi, but, like, eat the sushi.
I don't eat a whole lot of it anyway.
So, like, if we go to, like, a Japanese steakhouse, sometimes you'll get sushi and you'll get, like, a rice and steak or rice and salmon or whatever. I'm always like, eat the sushi. The other stuff's good the next day. The sushi's not. Other than that, I'm a huge believer in leftovers. So this week I made chicken enchiladas, okay?
Okay.
So salsa verde chicken enchiladas. Pretty simple. Basically, you got the salsa on the bottom of the pan. I made 2 pans of it. You roll up the corn tortillas with the chicken. You put a little bit of salsa in there. You got some crema, Mexican crema on top. You got some crumbly Mexican cheese. That's it. It was very good, I think. And yet there's an entire tray of it still in my fridge today. I'm going to crush it. But my kids will not touch leftovers. I mean, they seriously feel they are like averse to leftovers. And I haven't really ranted about the kids lately, so I think this is
Let's keep it going.
I think anything
fair.
with dressing or sauce on it, it can be a game changer. Enchiladas, though, I've had those left over, or you make them on a Sunday, you eat off the week. Phenomenal.
Right. Okay. Well, good.
And then you don't have to cook during the week. That's the whole point, because the week's busy.
Yeah, but I guess if, like, someone cooks for you all the time, then you're like, no, make me a new meal today, chef. Chef Joe.
I pull that card sometimes.
I mean, I'm bougie. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I like my food fresh. That's what I do.
I mean, so if there's some things that you don't like here and there, okay, I'll have that conversation. If you're basically, like, automatically turned off to the leftover, whatever it might be, we got a problem. So we got a problem. And honestly, the only reason the enchiladas aren't gone already, because, again, they're 2 days old. No, wait. Today's Thursday. I think did I make a Monday?
Now we're getting close where you better get in there.
Yeah, no, they're gone today. But, I mean, basically, last night I played basketball, dusted a 15-year-old, and was in such pain that I showered and went to bed without dinner, which is something I should do more often. But if not for that, they'd be gone.
Yeah.
But no one touched them. I don't even know what people had for dinner. I have no idea. Did you guys eat dinner? I don't know.
Maybe nothing.
Ate cereal? Ate ice cream? You got them. I don't know how it got to this point. But, like, you cannot be automatically turned off the idea of leftovers as a kid. You can't be. When my mom would make stuff growing up and there was stuff left over, I mean, think about, like, Thanksgiving. I mean, right now we have Easter ham, which I'm using for sandwiches. Yeah, exactly. And I seriously think my kids don't like anything left over. It's ridiculous.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I really think in a typical year, there are really only 2 things that I go to left over, and that is the remnants of Thanksgiving food, which I will eat on for approximately a week after that, and chili. I'll eat chili. It doesn't matter if chili's been in the refrigerator for 4 days. I'll eat it. Doesn't matter.
So what about like a lasagna?
Nah.
Oh man, lasagna is better later. Lasagna is. The sauce gets more like baked or like embedded in the.
I can't even say that I've ever even done lasagna leftover.
Do you have an air fryer?
I do.
Okay, because the air fryer is also a game changer, I think, for leftovers. Right? Because the microwave, I understand with some stuff, the microwave makes it mushy or whatever. Yeah. Air fryer, now that's a little bit of a game changer.
Throw pizza in there, real quick, crisp it up.
Right. Now I like cold pizza anyway, but
I do not.
Yeah, I like cold chicken.
Rebecca on the text line says, Joe, I'm in your generation and loathe leftovers. Only exception is pizza. This is from Rebecca on the text line. Although you have a lot of support on the text line for leftovers as well.
I hope so. I mean, again, some of this is obviously because I like to cook. So I cook a lot. So it's kind of offensive to me if it's not finished. If it's not finished and then it's like no one will touch it after that. kind of pisses me off.
Maybe this is a sign
that my cooking sucks.
Maybe.
Well,
I've never had it, so
we went straight there.
I'll have to make something for you guys.
Robert in Nashville says, "Forget leftovers. If whatever we're eating is any good, I'll eat it when it's served the first time." It's from Robert in Nashville.
Well, right. I mean, sometimes I try to double up. I'm looking at a recipe. I always just auto double it up. Maybe that's my mistake. Maybe the supply is too high, so the demand's low. Bring the supply down a little bit.
Yeah. Got a text that says most things work the next day. I don't know what they're trying to say here about a salad, but it says also this is the content we need on Nashville's best sports talk. I agree. That's what we're here for.
Well, I'm heartened that most of the people on the text line seem to be pro leftovers.
Yeah.
First of all, I just think you're missing out if you're anti, and second of all, yeah, I'm mad at my kids.
Maddie on the text line says, Robby, you mentioned leftover Mexican food. If you have leftover fajitas, fry them up with some eggs the next couple of mornings and wrap them in a tortilla.
Oh, that's
Holy
a great
smokes. Call. This is from Maddie on the text line.
That's a great call. There's a lot of stuff like that.
Give it a shot.
You just basically throw an egg in it. Yeah.
I'm down with eggs. I can do that.
Yeah.
You may have hit on something.
Not really leftover eggs.
I think what we really uncovered here is that I am maybe a little bit too bougie and need to be broadening my horizons a little bit.
Little bit. It's funny you say that because Mike Wilson and Grant Ramey, both friends of the show, call me Bougie Joe.
Really?
Really?
Yes. But that's only because on road trips, because I basically lived half my life in Marriott's, I always have upgraded rooms and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So Bougie Joe. They just call me Bouge. But yeah, you were the actual Bouge.
Yeah, that's me. Chase McCabe says, looks like we have our an hour next summer, special cooking with Rexrode. How about that?
I am actually
need to get you in here and cook something up.
I'm gonna make something.
It's not dangerous enough.
Bring it in. I'm gonna bring it in someday, and you can test my
hash.
cooking. The only thing that I guarantee I'm good at is grilled cheese. I mean, my family begs for the grilled cheese. Okay, and I know that's a really.
I do love a mean grilled cheese.
Yeah, it's very simple. Tons of butter. Very light cooking. Hey, two types of cheese.
You ever had grilled cheese with bacon on it?
Oh, hell yeah.
That stuff's awesome. I can do that all day.
Yeah, I like to throw in a little random surprise meats sometimes with the grilled cheeses.
615-737-1025. This has been the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program.
I got kids texting me right now.
Oh, boy. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. We'll get his thoughts on Joe's cooking and all things NFL as well. Looking forward to that coming up next. Make sure you tune in later this morning at 8:45 for your chance to participate in Pred's Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they're referred to so often. And Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people picked them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
And right now, the Titans offensive line, we knew after the unmitigated disaster that they had of an offseason or a season this past year on the offensive line, we knew that they were going to have to overhaul the offensive line. We knew they were going to have to go get some more pass catchers. We knew that, right? So, who's on the offensive line? Andre Dillard, backup. He's never started before in the NFL. He's your left tackle. You have no left guard. Aaron Brewer's your starting center. He's a backup. Danny Brunskill is your right guard. He's a backup. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer is your right tackle. And honestly, he wasn't very good last year. So have you really improved the offensive line? You put a bunch of backups there. That's a lot of hoping and praying.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Genesis Diamond's most anticipated event of the year is coming next weekend, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Huge store-wide savings, plus the unveiling of thousands of new, unique designs from the biggest names in jewelry. All new collections from names like Tacori, Verragio, and more. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, many never seen before, all specially priced. Save up to 35% store-wide and get zero interest financing. Special pricing on natural and lab-grown diamonds, April 21st through the 23rd. Only at Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Joyland in East Nashville. Joyland is a fun new concept by celebrity chef Sean Brock, inspired by his love for cheeseburgers, shakes, buttermilk biscuits, fries, and fried chicken. Get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy the best burger in town. Find some joy today and eat Joyland for half off with Nashville's best deal of the week. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
So the Upside app is free.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code ESPN17. Use code ESPN17 for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Jeffrey Simmons and the Tennessee Titans have officially gotten the deal done. Jeffrey Simmons signed his contract yesterday, 4 years for $94 million. And Simmons spoke to the media on Wednesday and discussed what it means to get this deal done.
From day one, I told Miss Amy that I would never let her down. And, you know, from this day forward, standing up here now, I texted Ms. Amy after we came to the conclusion that, we came to agreement, and I told her how much I appreciate her for trusting in me from day one. And when she sent back to me, she told me that, you promised me that you would never let me down, and, you haven't. And that right there, it hit something inside.
The Vandy boys are 27-6. They'll have an SEC matchup tomorrow against South Carolina at 6 p.m. in Nashville. And the Memphis Grizzlies' first-round matchup will be against the Lakers. First game is Sunday at 2 in Memphis. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. And as we do every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Charles, good morning. How are you?
What's going on, fellas?
Not a whole lot. We were just discussing Rexrode's cooking, which hopefully you've never had to experience.
Ugh.
But he tells me it's good.
Rexrode. I didn't even know he cooked. That's completely news to me.
I've
What do you
grown,
cook, Joe?
I've grown since college, Charles. I mean, like back then we ate like pancheros, you know. I cook a lot of stuff, man. I cook a lot of stuff, and it gets disrespected in the home. But
He made some enchiladas this week, and nobody will touch them as leftovers.
yeah, so I have to eat them all today.
Well,
That's the long story short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've all grown since college, Joe.
That is true.
Mostly in a negative way.
Good point.
Oh, man. Charles, appreciate you being with us this morning. The Odell Beckham signing in Baltimore. 1 year, $15 million, up to $18 million is the deal for Odell Beckham. I got to be honest, that's a lot more than I thought he would get. What do you make of that deal for Odell Beckham Jr. and what it could mean for the Baltimore Ravens?
It was wild. The text. It was a fun texting moment when that deal came in because it was just like teams are just like, what? It's money. Like instantaneously, the thought was, okay, this can't be that can't be real. 15 million can't be real. This idea of getting to 18 million, but no, it's real. You look at the deal and it's a rock solid 15 million. They threw in a bunch of voidable years to make it work with their cap, to push most of the money into next season. But and it could. I think even could it graduate to 18 million? Yeah, it could. It could get there. And it was striking because the market was seriously the only market for him at that point was the Jets and the Ravens, and the Jets weren't getting anywhere near close to that. Like I think it is possible, maybe. With some finessing, he lands like a $10 million deal with the Jets, and that would have been really pushing it. And then maybe there's some potential escalators, on top that might have been achievable. But man, that was one of those signings where you're like, okay, what just happened here? And the way it kind of got read by other teams turned out to be right. We found out within probably a half an hour after the deal was signed. Other teams are like, there's got to be a backdoor to Lamar, right? Like, there's got to be a Lamar Jackson tie here. And, they're efforting to get Lamar, make sure Lamar signs that tag and maybe even try to get him to sign it early so he can be part of the offseason program. We'll see if that happens. But then you see, Lamar put it up on his Instagram and comes out that, he played a part in influencing Odell to sign with the Ravens. So you have to feel like this calms a little bit of the Lamar Jackson sort of impasse right now with Baltimore. I still don't know that it's going to resolve any contract with him, but it makes me feel, at least, and I think other teams feel, it's a little more likely that he ends up playing 2023 on that tag.
Speaking of impasses, I saw your tweet to the Pro Football Talk thing about David Bakhtiari talking about the Packers paying Aaron Rodgers to not play, but what's the latest with that situation, and how does that possibly relate to the city we're in right now?
Yeah, 58. Yeah, sure. Let's just pay $58 million for Aaron not to play football. Could we all be that blessed? We'll write the guy a winning lottery ticket. That's definitely not happening. But it's. What's wild about this right now is it's stuck. The Packers are dug in. They want a second this year. They want a straight first next year with no qualifiers on it. And, the Jets aren't willing to do that. Woody Johnson doesn't want to give up a straight first. The owner of the Jets doesn't want to give up a straight first in the 2024 draft. He wants some protections just in case you have like a Denver scenario where, hey, they thought Russell Wilson was going to come in and turn the key and boom, Denver's a Super Bowl contender. Instead, they're bad enough to give Seattle the 5th pick in the draft. And that's really the kind of nightmare scenario that Woody Johnson wants to protect against here. And the way it relates to Tennessee that I think is interesting is I still think it's going to happen, right? I think this is just all, everybody's watching the clock here, and eventually there's going to be some forced movement, either right on the doorstep of the draft, or maybe, the doorstep of OTAs afterward, or full squad camp, whatever. But I still think it happens. But you do kind of go down the avenue now of, okay, well, what would be the plan B? If there's any plan B out there, I think the easiest plan B for the Jets, if just absolutely stunner it doesn't work out with Aaron Rodgers, I think the easiest plan B is actually Tannehill. I really do. And I don't know when that would have to happen. I don't know when, if it's something where if the Titans were inclined to work a deal, whether they would want to do it before the draft or after. Most of the time, teams want to do it before, obviously. But I do think that's probably the easiest low rent, low compensation type of deal that would be there for the Jets if they just decide, hey, you know what? This isn't working with Rodgers. Like, we got to walk away. And it's not Aaron's fault. It's just the Packers aren't budging on this, and we're not going to screw with this anymore. I really do think that Tannehill's probably the easiest path to having, just a competent, solid starting quarterback rather than Zach Wilson in the saddle next season. So if I was Titans fans, I'd keep an eye on it. I mean, like I said, it's a 1 in a million shot this doesn't work out, but it's at least worth, paying attention to see what happens in the next couple weeks.
Charles, what do you make of the NFL Sunday ticket package moving to YouTube TV? The pricing of that came out the other day, and obviously it's a big change going to YouTube TV. What do you think of that move by the NFL and YouTube TV specifically, and how that impacts maybe the viewing part of the Sunday ticket package?
Well, the availability is great. I mean, because obviously when you put it on YouTube TV, I mean, pretty much that's available anywhere. You can, you don't have to have, there's no special kind of equipment you have to have. I mean, every smart TV now has the YouTube app tied to it. It will be very available to literally anybody that wants it. But the one thing that I thought about when it went down was having Amazon on Thursday. My experience in Amazon at times was crappy, and it had to do with I all season long I could never get a game to rewind, and it drove me crazy. Like, it just every time I tried to back a game up for whatever reason, it was not working. And I know for some people it did, others it didn't. Other people had the same issue with me as I did, just not being able to easily scrub a game backwards to watch a play or maybe something I might have missed. And then, there's just the whole idea of, do you run into buffering problems? And it's just a different experience than having that ticket available on what would be a normal network platform or a platform that has the ease of a DVR experience or whatever. So it's, from an availability standpoint, it's great for the league. But I think for YouTube, they're going to have their work cut out for them, because I think Amazon's really got to improve that going into next year. And those are the hurdles that YouTube's going to have to deal with. Is just the tech end of it. That's got to be a lot better than what I thought Amazon brought to the table.
Saquon Barkley not signing the tag. What's that? Yeah. What's that mean, Charles?
He wants a deal. He's mad. I mean, he's like, his $10 million tag stinks. He wants his long-term deal, and the only way to really apply pressure is just to say, okay, well, I'm not going to show up. So if you're inclined to, get a long-term deal done with me and you're serious about it, here's a little added pressure. I'm not going to make it easy for you. And I don't know that that's necessarily going to change things, but it's just I'm telling you, the running back position is spiraling into one of the worst. It is a position where I would not, if you're an athlete out there and you have any ability,
play linebacker.
You could someday don't play running back, man. Stay away from running back, because it is. I had a really interesting conversation when I was talking to a GM about Bijan Robinson and about this idea of okay, well, where does he fit in this first round mix or whatever? And he was like, it's funny. He's like, if you're Bijan, you should want to get drafted in the second round. He's like, I know it sounds crazy. He's like, and maybe that's a little far-fetched considering if you're a mid-teens pick, that's a pretty big financial difference. But he said, look, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, these are guys that are going to have a path to an actual extension. He said, because teams don't have the length of control that they're going to have over those guys. That 1 year fewer than if you get drafted in the first round as a running back like Bijan. You don't have a fifth-year option to deal with. it just adds a different kind of a pressure for a team to try and get a deal done with a running back. It just feels a little more enticing than where he thinks a lot of teams are going to get with these. Anytime a running back goes in the first round, he's like, I guarantee you the plan is 7 years of control. We'll kick in the 5th-year option. We'll do 2 years of tags, put a zillion carries on these guys, then go, see ya. Like, that'll be it. Like, you're going to be a 7-year player as a running back for your drafting organization and move on. And I think that's where the Giants are, honestly. I really do. I think that depending on how, the season looks next year, the more realistic situation, I think, with Saquon is that he ends up playing this year on the tag, probably unhappy, and that they tag him again next year, and then after that, there won't be a long-term contract extension with him.
We'll have more with Charles Robinson with Yahoo Sports coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance. D-Mace. It's Ask D-Mace. Come on, bring them on. Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mace.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
Brought to you by Karashi and CBD on Caroline, Willie, and
D-Mace.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville, home of the biggest hits in hockey and the loudest parties on Broadway. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Friday, April 14th for the season finale as your Nashville Predators take on the Colorado Avalanche. Arrive early for the Nashville Predators Plaza Party presented by Dr. Pepper starting at 5 p.m. Purchase your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
40 spas on display from Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select.
Prices starting as low as $29.99.
Family Leisure has over 100 sets of patio furniture with free delivery.
That sounds good to me, too.
We should really look at the wood play gyms for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. Family Leisure's vacation at home sale in Franklin and Antioch.
Experience the crisp, clean, smooth, and refreshing pure agave flavor of Dulce Vida Tequila. Dulce Vida Tequila is made using only 100% USDA certified organic blue agave that is harvested from Los Altos, Mexico. Dulce Vida Blanco is additive-free and gluten-free. Try it for yourself. 1.5 ounce of Dulce Vida Blanco Tequila, 4 ounces of sparkling water, and a squeeze of lime for a delicious ranch water cocktail that is less than 100 calories. Dulce Vida Tequila, pure and simple.
This is Jim Mitchell at Mr. Transmission in Madison. Many of you care about a cure for cystic fibrosis. I care a lot and support the Saturday, May 6th golf tournament at Hendersonville's beautiful Country Hill Golf Course. It's the CureForOurFriends.org 9th annual golf tournament for cystic fibrosis. Tee off at 7:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on May the 6th. Lots of prizes and sports stars, lunch and dinner provided for each tee time. Sign up at CureForOurFriends.org. That's CureForOurFriends.org.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-511-3535. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-511-3535. 800-511-3535.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We continue our conversation with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. And Charles, we were talking about this yesterday. Jeff Okudah on the way from the Lions to the Falcons. Obviously a lot of familiarity here with Arthur Smith with his time as offensive coordinator for the Titans. But as you look at his job heading into this year, you have Desmond Ridder at quarterback right now. They've made some moves this offseason. How do you view kind of where they stand in a very interesting, I guess is the word, NFC South race right now? What did you make of the Okudah move the other day?
I mean, I like the Falcons offseason. I really do. I mean, I think they've spent the offseason making multiple areas of the team better. But, a lot of this is going to rest on let's see, how does Kyle Pitts come back? What's his health status? And what does he look like on the field? The growth of Drake London obviously going to be big. And then really, let's see what Ridder can do. I actually watched – I was with a coach. I was watching some film of Ridder. We were watching some different quarterbacks. And, this idea – there's a reason why I think that the Falcons are taking quarterback visits. And this isn't to knock Ridder. I think Ridder has a good game, but I think when you watch it consistently, just go and watch the cut-ups of what he did well last year, you see the limitations. You really understand there's a limit on what his ceiling ultimately is. So if there's any opportunity at an Anthony Richardson, maybe a Will Levis, they might like better. He doesn't have certain attributes, I think, that would make him, I don't know, he's going to be like an Alex Smith type, is that sort of the top end for him, and where can you really go with that type of player? But all in all, like I said, I like the Falcons offseason. I think the Okudah addition for a fifth rounder, I don't even get it. I really, I feel bad for Detroit fans because that's a guy that was selected in front of, Justin Herbert. I know Matt Stafford was on the roster there. But if you just go and you look at the players that were selected after Okudah in that draft, and he was supposedly, such a perfect eval player, a tier 1 player in that draft, and then just this quickly, I think he's still 24, to cash him out for a fifth-round pick it's just rough. And it reminds me of when they drafted Eric Ebron in front of Aaron Donald, and if you go back to that draft, there's literally 7 players after Eric Ebron in that draft where you're they literally could have just thrown a dart and they would have hit basically a Pro Bowl, potentially all pro level player. And instead they took a tight end who washed out of the team pretty quickly, just like Okudah just did. So
stunning how this happens to the Lions all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it's funny because, the Lions, they're getting into this mode where, hey, it doesn't feel like it's the same old situation with them. And obviously they made secondary additions. I get it. They're going to be in place. They could potentially take the top corner in the draft at 6, whoever they decide that is. So I get it. There's some, there's competent things to look at, but it's just disappointing when you see a player. For the Falcons, great, awesome, low rent situation. I mean, you get an opportunity to look at a player that a lot of teams liked and thought had a lot of ability, and he gets out of Detroit where, was there a microscope on him? Yeah, of course. Were there a lot of expectations? Yeah. So maybe, getting that fresh start clicks him back into place and he becomes that, top shelf corner that Detroit thought they were getting. But, geez, man, it's just an ugly trade.
So, Charles, I have pulled up on my screen a story I wrote from October 30th, 2020, scooping you badly in the process.
Wow.
About the founders of S2 Cognition, in which I speculated that basically from now on all we're going to be talking about is the S2 scores. And then it kind of didn't happen right away, but I feel like now I'm seeing it. It's everywhere. Why now? Is it just basically people just finally catching on? How important do you think it is? And, I mean, when you look at these quarterbacks, I'm hearing great things about Bryce Young and now Anthony Richardson and Levis, but then not as great about Stroud. Does that matter right now? How much does it matter?
Well, and remember, Brock Purdy had the highest score last year.
Right.
And so, hey, maybe there's something to that when the guy gets thrown in there and he seems to be able to handle himself pretty well in the middle of chaos. This is, this has been in baseball for a while. So now it's finally making its way over to the NFL. I think everybody's just trying to build a better mousetrap. They're trying to figure out how to process quarterback information in a way that is just useful. And things like the Wonderlic, all that stuff, I think it just felt so outdated. And they're like, what are we truly looking for? And what they're looking for is decision making. Like, how fast can you make decisions on a cognitive level? And, it's all about just, processing. You see the elite players who score really high in the S2 test, they're really good at processing information really quickly. And so, like, an example, so if people aren't familiar with the S2 test, like, it'll show you, like, a lot of people use the shapes portion of the test because it's easy for everybody to understand. They just throw out a certain number of shapes, like it'll be 5 or 6 shapes or whatever, and there will be one that's an outlier. How fast do you react to that piece of information when the image, pops up? Like, how quickly can you just process that's different and identify it? And it sounds simple, but this has definite, like, application. Teams see it with players, and I think teams are now, and not like they haven't for a long time, but they're really understanding that maybe more than anything else out there, arm strength, whatever, it's just how fast can you process what you're seeing on the field as a quarterback. And regardless of what your arm strength is or your height or your weight or all these different things, if you can just simply understand what you're seeing faster than anybody else, you can probably overcome what some of your deficiencies are. And interestingly, so I was talking to a personnel guy about this test, and he said to me, he goes, you know who else scores big on this? And I said, no. And he said, some of these, like, world-class video game players. He was like, you see these kids who are playing, like, Call of Duty, and you feel like you're watching the screen and going to have a seizure because there's so much stuff happening so fast in front of you. And somehow these kids are able, or some adults are able to navigate just insane amount of imagery quickly and understand what they're seeing in front of them so much faster than anyone else. And he said, they had heard that those kids score really high on the S2 just because of how they can quickly process information. It's really fascinating, and good for you scooping me. I would have had absolutely no idea. I don't know, like, is that your hotel room, S2? Are you on, like...
He's very proud of himself.
Yeah. No, it's great, though. I mean, that's it, and it's funny, too, because
they're from here.
Somebody actually texted me last night, and they said, this is probably a story right now that's not getting... It's a way bigger story and a way bigger theme in this draft than people really are fully understanding, although we are seeing far more stories written about it the last couple of weeks.
Well, so do you think that? And I haven't seen what Stroud's is. Again, the scores basically are like percentile scores, like, right. So if you score a 97, you're better than 97% of people do. If Stroud's score is bad, does that actually have a chance to drop him?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, it depends. It depends how. I mean, are you an organization that only had one analytics employee last year? I mean, if you are, maybe that impacts how you. I don't know what I'm talking about, but
who would that be?
It depends what you think of the tool, okay? And so different organizations are going to view it differently. Just like years ago, there were still teams that cared a lot about the Wonderlic, where there are other teams who were like, we could care less. Like that, it's a total junk. It's absolute junk science with the Wonderlic. So, it's I think it just depends, what's your experience with it. And I know the 49ers did like that aspect about Purdy. I don't think they knew that it would be something that maybe showcased itself so quickly. But, I mean, if you went and watched Purdy's games last year, it was remarkable how quickly, like, you're like, wow, this guy's like running around. Kyle Shanahan said, he runs around and he just does stuff. I'm telling you, that's like an S2 trait. That's like, are you able to just run around and understand all these things that are happening in front of you and make the right play, even though Brock Purdy's not, a 6'4", cannon-armed, athletic combination quarterback, with size and everything. So, I mean, with Stroud, I think it could, depending on how the Panthers, feel about it, depending on how other teams potentially feel about it, that could impact his stats. I will say this about the scores, though. Man, I think they're under lock and key far more than the Wonderlic ever was. Like, you could find out the Wonderlic scores. The S2 scores are a lot tougher to get at. Like, when you ask, you try to get specific percentiles, and I feel like teams are really guarding those closely. It's always interesting to me when one pops out.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Charles, great stuff as always. Thanks for being with us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good day.
You as well. Charles Robinson, the best in the business, with us every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. More reaction to what Charles had to say there coming up next. Make sure you join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Soul for Souls, coming up on June the 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. You can sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game.
When you want all the
going in and the score, blast the score. He wrists one, they score.
And don't forget the
what a stop! Sliding across to make the save. The backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is Smashville, we have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Baseball is back. The push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. If you listened yesterday, I told you to pick the two underdogs, the Bulls and OKC, to cover. They both covered last night. They actually both won last night. Taking a look at some of the other games beginning on Saturday, we got the Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers. 76ers an 8.5-point favorite. I think the Nets cover that. I think it will be a close game, even though I believe 76ers will come out on top. Then you also got the Hawks and the Boston Celtics. The Hawks have been scrappy and kind of made a little run these last couple of weeks, but the Celtics a 9-point favorite. I'm taking the Hawks to cover this as well. It's postseason basketball. We're going to get some close games here. And also, if you're looking at baseball, let's put a little money on the Rays. They're looking to go 13-0, which hasn't been done since the 80s. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the best wagering app around. It's my official sports book with a direct line to the experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. So don't let the spring pass you by without winning some money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Interest rates are up, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Don't sweat it out another summer. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off. Or get 18 months of no payments so your first payment's not due till fall of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Book your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com. And happy spring.
Hey y'all, it's Caroline Fenton, and I want to tell you about my friends over at 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza is my favorite place in town. It's family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style, always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesday and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 or head to 312pizzaco.com to order. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their homestand tonight against the Norfolk Tides. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I got a pair of tickets to give away to see Godsmack at First Bank Amphitheater coming up on May 23rd. Be caller 3-615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 for your opportunity to win a pair of tickets to see Godsmack coming up on May 23rd, 615-737-1025. Thanks to Charles Robinson for joining us in the last segment. Lots that we got into with Charles there. The Jets-Packers thing is interesting. As he said, the Packers appear to be dug in, and it just kind of feels like nothing's really going on right now. I would still, as Charles pointed out, really highly expect Aaron Rodgers to be moved at some point from Green Bay to the Jets. But it is interesting that he thinks if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, then maybe the easiest fallback plan for the Jets will be Ryan Tannehill at that point.
He also said 1 in a million.
He did.
So if it's 1 in a million, is it 1 in a million?
I'd go 1 in 100,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably more like it. I go 1 in 379,444.
That's good.
But, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if the catastrophic scenario happens, where else would the Jets turn, given basically what their plan is, which is got a pretty good team, put in some good quarterback in this, and you may downgrade from them believing they can really contend to at least, okay, this is a playoff team, but still, you'd rather be a playoff team with what you've done, and Tannehill can definitely deliver that, I think, with that roster.
They going Tannehill, or they going just Zach Wilson riding it out again? Try it again, buddy. See how you can do it. I mean, Zach Wilson said that no matter who they brought in at quarterback, he would compete. He would try to compete with him. So
well, that's good. I'm glad he should try. I'm glad he's going to try. If they have a competition for weirdest, weaving Fran Tarkenton play and just throw it downfield, he'll win that.
Aaron, we know that we brought you in, but Zach Wilson has wanted to compete. So.
Yeah. We're not going to do any straight drop back and throw the ball accurately. You have to, wind to your left, then to your right, and then just throw it without even looking downfield. And Zach's amazing at that.
How do you think Odell Beckham Jr. got the Ravens to pay him as much as they did? I mean, as Charles pointed out, it kind of feels like it was down to the Ravens and the Jets, and Charles said the Jets were going to go nowhere close to $15 million. How do you think that happened? Like, how did the Ravens do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, because usually if we see a contract that's like, usually it's because of the market maybe is better, more robust than you thought, right? Like it's okay. There was somebody else really pushing, and so it's like an auction. Like, okay, well, I'll go to here. Apparently that wasn't the case.
Apparently not.
We'll just go way up here. What do you think? Okay, sure, I'll sign with you.
It's a great way to make sure he signs. I'll give him that.
It's not like that's not very Ravens-like. That's like a Lions-like thing.
Yeah,
that the Ravens did. But maybe it'll work out. Lamar Jackson did express online excitement about it. So
he did. We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks during this draft process. I would love to know how many Titans fans are actually pulling for them to draft an offensive lineman. Like, how many Titans fans are out there saying, forget the quarterback talk, go draft an offensive tackle. Or maybe you think a guard. Who knows? But an offensive lineman of some kind. I would love to know how many Titans fans are saying, you know what? Quarterbacks, all that's exciting, all that's well and good. I want them to pick a Paris Johnson Jr. or Broderick Jones or whoever it would be at number 11 overall. I wonder what that percentage of Titans fans is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's basically the same percentage as the percentage of people who believe they can be good this year and want Tannehill and Henry and everything to be intact and just get better. Now, there's also, and this showed up on the text line today and does most days, the idea of stink this year. Just draft, try to get set up for the future, stink this year, and go get Caleb Williams, which to me, again, is just not realistic at all. But some people think that way.
Well, if they were going to do that, then the teardown would have already had to start, right? I mean,
well, but the teardown can be at quarterback. If the teardown's at quarterback, I guess you could draft an offensive lineman or whatever, trade Tannehill to the Jets after the Aaron Rodgers deal falls through. Malik Willis is your starter, and you can get Caleb Williams.
That could get you there.
That could get it done for you. But because I think that's really what it's about, is that position. But to your question, I think that I don't know. It's really interesting. I feel like probably a higher percentage of Titans fans would like to see a quarterback drafted, even if they disagree on who.
I would agree.
But I think there's still a healthy collection of Titans fans who think they could be good next season, and they may not be wrong.
Caleb on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I want to draft a wide receiver. Quentin Johnston. Gordon from Nashville says, first 5 picks need to be on the offensive line. That's from Gordon on the text line.
Just draft an entire offensive line.
Straight offensive line in the draft.
Now, that's aggressive.
John in Burns says, offensive line pick at number 11. Yes, please. So we have some people weighing in about the offensive line.
Well, that's the thing. There's also the people, even if you're not on board with the unrealistic Caleb Williams scenario, that aren't excited about these quarterbacks. Right. So, and that's fine. That, look, you don't know what might materialize. Just the idea of, you need to fix the offensive line. Whoever's back there needs more help. They need more protection. So do that, and at some point, get your quarterback. Hard to do. The last major quarterback acquisition this organization made that was successful was, trading a 4th-round pick to a team that retained a lot of salary so you could take Ryan Tannehill, and worked out okay. So you just don't know how it might work out.
Well, I still think the most likely scenario, the draft is 2 weeks from today, thank God. 2 weeks from today, the first round of the draft takes place, and I still think the most likely scenario that takes place that night is that the Titans are walking away with an offensive lineman at number 11. Like, that's the most likely way I see this going based on the board. We could talk about them trading up, or if somehow a quarterback falls down to 11. I'm not saying either one of those things are impossible, but I think when you start to break down the percentages, an offensive lineman at number 11 is still probably the most likely way things are going, in my mind.
Gover says every Titans fan should be hoping they draft an offensive lineman who's going to keep Tannehill upright. Also, Gover always has this thing that says, I'm driving. So, this is voice to text, right?
I would think so.
I hope
for sure, because then when we text
back. But it's always spelled right. He voiced to text in all caps every? Can you do that?
Gover is a very powerful guy.
Don't text and drive, Gover.
You can tell your phone, text this in caps.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I just want to make sure. So, okay, Gover, but what if you're a Titans fan who doesn't want Tannehill to be your quarterback? Those people exist too.
For sure. But then you have to be sold on one of these. We'll see.
And
some people are, some people aren't.
Maybe C.J. Stroud about to plummet to 11. So. The S2 score.
All the S2 scores. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, it's time for Pred's Pick to Click. Be the first caller, 615-737-1025. Guess a goal scorer for the Predators tonight as they take on the Minnesota Wild. We will do that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3.
It's time for another Kubota field event at Coleman Tractor of White House. Their biggest sale event of the year will take place in White House on Saturday, April 22nd. Don't miss this perfect opportunity to demo Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and more. Take advantage of Kubota's competitive financing offers. Receive a coupon for up to $250 off select purchases. Plus, enter to win prizes and free barbecue lunch from 11 to 1. Try it and buy it during the Kubota Field event Saturday, April 22nd from 9 to 2 p.m. at Coleman Tractor of White House at 3613 Highway 31 West.
The NBA playoffs are here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that if you visit FanDuel.com/Joe102 right now, you can place a $5 bet and get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel, my sportsbook of choice, because it has great promotions every day. It's safe and secure. It pays you instantly. It's easy to use, and there's no better place to bet all the NBA playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. I'm going to give you a tip right now. Game 1. I like the series too, but Game 1, Golden State Warriors at Sacramento. Going to make a little statement. How about Andrew Wiggins over on rebounds? Is that a weird one? Yes, but I think he's going to at least play with energy. Just go to FanDuel.com/Joe102. Sign up, get that $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of the NBA, and you must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo! Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Nobody does happy hour like Twin Peaks, from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails give you a drink menu second to none. Oh, and don't forget about the Twin Peaks 29-degree man-sized drafts.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's time for the NBA playoffs, and you can get in on all the action from the first tip with FanDuel. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend when you bet the NBA playoffs. That's right. Just place a 3+ leg same-game parlay or same-game parlay plus on any NBA playoff game, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. I mean, you got to look at the Boston Celtics with Tatum and Brown and Smart, maybe even the Suns with Durant and Booker. And there's so many options early in the playoffs. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/JGM and get a no-sweat parlay every weekend of the playoffs. That's FanDuel.com/JGM. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? You need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled iron workers for contractors and projects in Nashville. If you want to build Nashville, you want to be proud of doing it, visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-484-5131 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-484-5131. That's 800-484-5131. What do you have to lose? Call 800-484-5131. Again, 800-484-5131.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company. 10
for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company. You've got real talent. With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for Pred's Picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are preferred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It is that time of the day. Time for Pred's Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. Pred's back in action tonight, taking on the Minnesota Wild. They'll play tonight, and then the season finale tomorrow against the Colorado Avalanche. And the standings are these, and the competition is over. Robby Stanley, ladies and gentlemen.
Just gloat.
The
Go ahead and gloat.
2023 Pred's Pick to Click champion. Yours truly, Robert Stanley. Your thoughts, Joe?
Whatever. Congratulations, I guess.
Joe, this means you have to win weekend winners because, Robby, did you win Pick to Click last year?
I believe so.
And I won Pigskin last year.
Wait, didn't I win Pick to Click? I won Pick to Click one year.
Jeff won, or Jeff, I got Jeffrey Simmons right now. Joe won Pick to Click, I believe, 2 years ago.
Yes, before me.
So that's my last dub.
The Callie Yarncroke Pick to Click.
That's right.
Yes.
If I still had
boy.
Rex Croak, boy Callie.
Hey, you scored 20 this year, man.
You've
been on
How
fire.
about that guy, huh? I think we maybe Pick to Click kind of like, reshaped
Inspired
his
him.
career. Yeah,
maybe so.
But congratulations, Robby.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Michelle, you're up first today. You're Pick to Click for the National.
Oh, yay.
Wow.
We should do like a final thing. Like you can risk all your points. I'm going to risk all my points.
Like
and
Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy?
Yeah, Final Jeopardy, even though it won't count.
You could double your points and you still win back.
Yeah. Oh, wait. That's actually funny. Okay. Tommy Novak. Tommy Novechkin. People like to call him now. Yeah, give me Tommy Novak.
Tommy Novechkin. I've not heard that one.
Like
really?
that
They said it on the broadcast.
Yeah, that's good.
Somebody came up with it. I think the
Willie?
locker room.
Did Willie come up with this?
Max Hers told me. I think maybe the locker room came up with it. That was like a nickname or something.
Yeah, I like it.
By the way, Willie, speaking of Willie, the goal that put him up 2-1 in the win at Calgary, that might have been Willie's. It was like, score! I was like, yeah, Willie. He brought some bass on that one, man.
All right, I'm up next.
I'm last. Wow. Hey, how about that? Pick last every time. Awesome.
I will go with my guy Luke Evangelista. So I'm going Luke Evangelista in the competition. Novak Evangelista off the board. Joe, your pick.
Well, I think it's only right that I would go with Stastny.
Well, there we go. First goal coming up. Spencer Stastny, the selection.
Not Saros? He probably won't even be in net.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's right. I'll go with Askarov, okay?
Yes, thank you. Spencer Stastny, the selection in Pred's Pick to Click. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. By the way, make sure you tune into Nashville's best NFL draft coverage on 102.5, 106.3 The Game for the first 3 rounds on Thursday, April 27th and Friday, April 28th. Coverage presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, D&M Development, Smoky Mountain Tops, Parman Energy, and B&B Flooring. We are mercifully 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, Joe, so looking forward to that coming up here in a couple of weeks. You can also check out Derek Mason, and Chris Sanders for their draft coverage as well coming up in a couple weeks for the first round, so looking forward to that. Joe, we had the discussion earlier. What does all this mean for John Hines? We know they're not making the playoffs, and we know that it will be tonight for the Predators against Minnesota, tomorrow night against Colorado, and then that's it, and then the offseason discussion begins. What does it all mean for John Hines? I said earlier, I would not be really surprised either way with the decision that Barry Trotz makes. If I had to guess right now, and this is just total speculation on my part, I am guessing that John Hines is back next season. That's just my guess.
Yep, I will join you in that guess. Because I don't think Carl Taylor, I don't think they're going to just elevate Carl Taylor to be the head coach right now. I think Carl Taylor warrants a real opportunity at some point. I don't think that's the move, and I just don't know of someone that Barry Trotz like naturally would want to bring in. And if it's like, look, I also feel like John Hines has performed well in the time period that Barry Trotz has been closely evaluating him as coach. How could you not think so? If you hate John Hines, you can find a way to take all the last few weeks and say, yeah, it's all despite Hines. But I think objectively speaking, you have to think he's helped himself.
For sure. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he stays. I mean, I told you this earlier. When they made the move and Barry Trotz is coming in, my immediate thought was that's probably it for John Hines. I mean, anytime you see a general manager change, a lot of times the coaching change is not that far behind. Now, he does have 1 year left on his contract, and I do think he's helped himself over the past couple of weeks. Has he helped himself enough? I said this earlier, too. A lot of this, to me, also depends on what is Barry Trotz going to do in terms of his approach of the offseason. Does he look around and say, we got cap space, we got assets now in the draft, we can use those to get trades in here, and we can be competitive again next year? Or do they take maybe the slower route of letting the young guys cook a little bit and see what they've got, who can they build around moving forward? If you do that, then I think it makes some sense to keep John Hines around and for him to oversee that, at least for next year. And then if you feel like you need to make a change after that, then you make a change after that. But a lot of it depends on, to me, what is in the back of Barry Trotz's mind of his approach to this offseason as well.
Yeah. And even if and I saw a lot of this today on the text line, you want to give more credit to Carl Taylor for these guys developing than Hines. That's fine. But it's not like they came up here and Hines messed them up. They played great. They struggled to create offense. Look, they were limited, but I think you saw some development and some good play. And so next year, if he's here, you would think that they would be able to continue developing.
Preds back in action tonight. They'll take on the Minnesota Wild. Puck drop at 7, pregame at 6 here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. That does it for us. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Chase and Michelle up next. This is 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
They played tough. They came back and they still lost.
And your source for Nashville